And now, the starting lineup of your favorite show. At producer, 5'11" from Blanchester, the Cow Killer, Casey McCollister. And comic engineer, standing at 4'8", the pride of the West Side, Elliot Rearing. And your host, weighing 150 pounds, soaking wet, from Hamilton, Ohio, Ace Fowler.
Well, yo, I cannot, and I repeat, cannot stress this enough. I am not the host of Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I am Reed Mouse. We're going to have a new look to the show coming soon. The people you see in the room, the people that I'll get to here in a second, are going to be on the show. There's just not going to be the same format. There might not be a host. We'll get to that and more later on in this show. But it's a lovely, lovely, lovely Tuesday morning here in Hamilton, Ohio. Or it's a lovely Tuesday afternoon if you're listening on the radio on 1410 Wing AM. But we have a good show for you guys today. Casey McCollister, Elliot Reagan on the producer's side of the room. How are you guys?
What's up? I'm doing great. I couldn't feel any better.
You look great.
There was no Reds game last night, so I didn't have to feel bad about myself or others. So I just sat there and had a good old night.
I've got bad news for you.
Yeah?
They play tonight.
Oh.
Jacob Tissett, Jimmy Collins, how are you guys over on the left side of the room?
I'm doing great, Reed. Doing great.
Good.
Doing
Look
great.
good. Yeah, it's good to have you guys. All right, guys. Elliot, as per usual to the start of the show,
Yes.
you're going to take us through the lines.
Yes.
The headlines.
The headlines. Listen, so there was no Reds news yesterday, but I'm going to do a little preview, just a tiny little quick one. The Reds have won 3 games in their last 17 games. To give you a look of how the Padres are doing, they are 10-7 in their last 17 games. Andrew Abbott tonight has a 3.06 ERA. He will be facing Joe Musgrove. This is Joe Musgrove's first start since he faced the Reds on May 1st. He went 6 innings, giving up 4 hits, 2 earned runs, striking out 9 in that game. Saying that, he still does have a 6.37 ERA.
So he had the last start and he got hurt? And he had
I
that,
think
he had
so.
That, I believe that stat line?
I believe that's what's happening.
Okay.
I believe that's what's happening.
Okay.
Around the league, baseball. The Dodgers, they win 6-4 over the Diamondbacks. Freddie Freeman hitting a grand salami. The Angels, they won 9-7 over the Astros. The Astros are a little bit hotter lately. They've won 7 of their last 9.
Did you give up on the Astros?
Yeah, I gave up on the Astros.
I gave up on the Astros too.
But they're back.
They got Kyle Tucker, Yordan Alvarez. They're still a good team.
Very good. The Cardinals, they beat the Orioles 6-3. That's unfortunate. The Royals, they crushed the Tigers. Shout out Jimmy. Javy Baez is hitting 203 with a 230 OBP and an OPS of 500.
Better than Brandon Phillips. I cannot stress that enough.
Man.
Better than Brandon Phillips.
Every year he plays, it makes that take worse.
Have you bought into the Royals or the Tigers?
Royals are pretty good.
The Royals.
Tigers, I will not. Respectfully, of course.
Yeah.
The Tigers are a joke.
The Tigers are a little bit better at hitting than the Reds, I think.
Well, so
And
is
better
everybody.
pitching.
If
So
we
they're
give
better.
if we give Casey Reed and Jacob 5 at-bats, each of them will come away with more hits than if you give Luke Maley 5 at-bats. So,
And-
yeah, I think we're
And probably Javy Baez.
– yeah, and
As
that's
a
fair.
Tigre fan, the one thing you could swallow when Javy was hitting as bad as he was, because at least he could play defense.
Great glove.
Yeah,
At least
great
he could
glove.
play defense. That's not the case anymore. He's not playing good defense right now. So you're just like, all right, we're just going to roll out this guy every day. He clearly, out of everyone, like we talk about the Astros with the cheating scandal, the Red Sox cheating scandal, there is a clear cliff of when Javy Baez was a MVP candidate and what he is now right after the cheating scandals came out. That's all I'm saying. I'm just saying maybe the Cubs were cheating a little bit.
That's what
Maybe.
you're saying. That'd be tough.
Those are my guys.
The Reds have never cheated. They just lose.
Well,
Won a
the
World
other
Series.
Well-
Won a World Series.
one time the opposing team just like gave them a World Series.
That counts. That counts.
They're just like, hey, we don't want this one. Here
That
you go.
counts.
Well, they didn't do
The
anything,
country was
but-
going through hard times. We'll take anything we can get.
Not yet.
No?
Great Depression was about a decade later.
Prohibition.
Did just come out of the war.
Prohibition?
Did just come out of
Prohibition?
the First World War. I don't think Prohibition was happening yet.
Oh. How do you think Bobby Castellini would have dealt with Prohibition during Dollar Beer Night? $2 Beer Night? 3, 2, 1? You think you would have had a promotion for that?
Dollar prison wine night.
Dollar moonshine.
Yeah, make your own wine in the toilets, GABP. Red Sox, they shut out the Rays 5-0. Nationals, they blow out the Twins 12-3. All-star Jesse Winker, he hit another home run as Reds fans weep and say that he's the worst player ever. Marlins, they win 3-2 over the Brewers. Braves shut out the Padres 3-0. Guardians beat the Mets 3-1. Blue Jays, they crushed the hapless White Sox. Man, the White Sox are sad. They beat the White Sox 9-3. And the Padres, they win their first game of the doubleheader 6-5 yesterday. It was a doubleheader between them and the Braves. They split. WNBA news.
Oh, no.
I'm going to keep talking about it. I'm not going to stop. You can't stop me. I've got a fever. And
Keep
the
it
only
in the lexicon.
And the only prescription is more fever losses. They lost again last night, this time to the Connecticut Sun.
Caitlin Clark hit a sick logo 3, though.
She did. The Connecticut Sun, that is singular, not to copy the Phoenix Suns.
You know why they're called this? Greg Sandlin put this in the chat.
Ooh, what?
Because they play in a casino, the Mohegan Sun.
Really? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah, shadows on the court. Terrible lighting.
How about that? Well, the Connecticut Sun, singular, they won 88-84 over the 0-4 Fever. Caitlin Clark had to leave the game temporarily due to an ankle injury, but she returned to finish with 17 points. Now, she did add 5 more turnovers. If you're keeping track at home, she has 26 turnovers through 4 games.
Are you saying what, and Everett wants to know, Mark Fetters would like to know in the chat, are you insinuating that Caitlin Clark is a bust?
Yes. Caitlin Clark, bust. Good
Also-
news is, doesn't matter how she plays because she's still saving the league.
Also, does anybody else get push notifications from ESPN Fantasy about WNBA news?
Yes.
I don't know why.
Can't say
Are they?
so.
They're really pushing WNBA Fantasy. I get push notifications about the draft, all these things, not from ESPN, but from the
ESPN.
fantasy app. It was like Caitlin Clark had 26 points and so rebounds, and like she put up a 40-point night tonight. I'm like, what? I don't care. I don't play fantasy women's basketball.
Yeah.
alone
And neither does
actual
anybody
men's
else. NHL news. The Oilers, they jumped out to a 3-0 lead last night, and that's all they would need to beat the Canucks. Canucks were down their best scorer. I wish I would have known that before I placed the bet. Still won. They cover the spread of 1.5, but lose 3-2 in Game 7. NBA.
Are you scared of Connor McDavid?
No.
Because
You
you shouldn't
should
be. You should not be.
You should be.
You should not be scared of Connor
NBA tonight.
not.
Connor McDavid. How many years in the league has he been in the league? Are we at 10 years yet?
6?
Not.
How long has he been the best player in the league?
Long time.
We're gonna
Connor
find
McDavid.
out.
All right, I'll get you that stat.
Connor
right.
David was drafted in 2015, so
Oh, really?
going on a decade here
How
soon.
about that? NBA tonight. Pacers and the Celtics, they square off in Boston at 8 p. for Game 1 of the series. Celtics are 9.5-point favorites tonight. I don't think there's going to be a chance.
Minus 900 to win the series. Minus
Whoa.
2.5 games. Celtics.
Whoa.
One of the biggest spreads we've seen in the Eastern Conference Finals for a series line in all time.
And it's like minus 150 for minus 2.5 games, too.
We are a mere 90 minutes away from Indianapolis. Why are there no Pacers fans
I'll
in
be
this
there
city?
on Saturday.
Are you?
Game 3. Hell
Heck
yeah.
yeah, heck yeah.
I'm excited. We went
Let's
to
go.
one of the games last series. I like to hop on the Pacers bandwagon when they're good just because of proximity, but I don't go through the hard times.
They're good like once a decade. Once a decade they get to the conference finals.
Those Paul George teams were something else. If you didn't
That's
have to
right.
run into the Heatles every year, they might have won a championship.
Roy Hibbert.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Roy Hibbert.
The inventor of the verticality rule. People
That's right.
forget. Roy Hibbert changed the game of basketball.
People did forget that. Listen, I was looking at some of the scores the Celtics have had this postseason. They've only won one game by less than 10 points, which is pretty wild to me.
They've also lost a couple games.
They've lost a couple, but every game they've won, they have dominated by a significant amount. So the Celtics and Pacers, they square off tonight, 8 p. We'll see y'all there.
Since 2000, I just looked this up. Since 2000,
Uh-oh.
your Indianapolis Pacers have been to at least the semifinals of the Eastern Conference 7 times, 1/3 of the time. That's a pretty good
Really?
run. That's a pretty good run. Have been to the finals, the Eastern
about
Conference
that?
finals, or the NBA finals.
It was a decade in
times.
between playoff advances from 2014 to this year, but That's a good little
A
stretch.
lot of first-round losses. There's
Oh,
no
yeah.
doubt about that. But, yeah, shout out.
Good for the Pacers. Good for them. Other notable news, Justin Jefferson. He was spotted leaving his hotel in a chauffeured car in Florham Park, which is 3 minutes away from where the Jets facility is located. He was not at OTAs in Minnesota. Little drama there.
And we'll get to
and also,
that in
obviously,
segment 2.
huh?
We'll get to that in segment 2.
Yes. And we also will talk about T. Higgins. Adam Schefter posted the
Yes.
tweet. And
We haven't talked about T. Higgins in a long time.
No,
so that's good.
and we need to talk about T. Higgins because it's important for this city, for this nation, that we talk about T. Higgins not signing his whatever franchise tag yet, his tender. But every single player does this always when it comes to franchise tags. So
I feel like a rabid dog between the times we get to talk about T. Higgins.
Really?
Life. This is some life advice. Life is just the times between you get to talk about T. Higgins playing or not.
yeah,
And I'm gonna miss it at some point.
I'm gonna miss it too. Final news of the day:
Yeah.
Scotty Scheffler's lawyer was in court saying, "Let's just drop these charges. Let's delay it. Let's delay the thing, and we'll just get rid of this thing." The opposing lawyer said, "Nah. We're going right now, baby." And I think that lawyer is trying to make it the case of the century. I think that's what's trying to happen over there. So maybe Scotty ends up in prison. We don't know yet.
Oh no, my brother. So I think part of the reason I don't like golf that much is because growing up, I slept in a bedroom with my 2 older brothers, who are about 10 years older than me, and one of my brothers would always have golf on. We even watched the golf reality TV show, the Big Break, I think is what it was called. Watched that all the time. So I was golfed out. We were out in Hilton Head last week, and my brother, when that happened, I think that's the only thing he said all day was Scotty Scheffler got arrested. Like, just constantly was talking about it. He would talk about nothing else. We're like, hey, man, I get it. Like, it's a crazy story, but he's probably nothing's probably going to happen. But it sounds like something might happen.
Maybe.
Sounds like something might happen.
All-time
fun.
Twitter day after that arrest. All-time Twitter
Oh,
day.
that was one of the best ever. All the mugshot comparisons between him, Tiger Woods, John Daly. Oh, it was so good. It would all in all seriousness, it would be great if he got arrested and went to jail.
I heard the kids are calling running over cops pulling a Scheffler.
That's what they're saying.
That's the
That's
new TikTok trend. Pulling a Scheffler. Please do not do that.
the funniest part.
The officer's pants were torn beyond repair. Beyond repair was the direct quote.
The funniest part of that report was at the very end. The last line of it was, an officer, whatever his name was,
Gillis.
his pants suffered irreparable damage. It cannot be fixed. $80. Oh my God.
$80 pants.
Cannot be fixed. All right, we're going to get to the T. Higgins and the Justin Jefferson NFL news when we come back on your home for sports in the Miami Valley, 1410 Wing AM. All right, so we're back, and we've brought 2 new people onto the show, and people are in the chat are asking, hey, who are the guys in the leather chairs over there? For the long time Chatterbox viewers, they will remember Jacob. Jacob was our intern last year. He was on Casey's show, Mac and JT. He's had a couple guest spots here on Off the Bench. He just graduated from the University of Alabama.
Yup.
So he's going to be here full time. He's here for the long haul. To his right is our new intern, Jimmy Collins. He is a Notre Dame senior?
About to be a senior.
About to be a senior. And he's coming down here. He's from Detroit. He gets some insight because I know the one thing everyone's clamoring for is Piston news in this area. Jimmy Collins has it. But yeah, that's our new hire, and that's our new intern for the summer. So they'll be here for the duration of the summer. So speaking of something being here for the duration of the summer and the duration of what seems like the last 3 years is what in the world is going to happen with T. Higgins. Adam Schefter reported yesterday that T. Higgins did not sign his franchise tag, which means what exactly, Casey?
I mean, for those that don't understand, he will not be able to participate in team activities if he does not sign this tag. Jesse Bates did a very similar thing 2 years ago, where he did not sign the tag until, 2 weeks before the regular season started? So probably going to be very similar situations. It's the same agent, right?
Yep, same agent.
So it's probably the exact same advice, just hold out until you can't hold out any longer, and then go get right in the last 2 weeks before the regular season starts.
We've got bad blood with that agent here in this city.
Oh, David Mulligatto's high on my list, man. He's not one of my favorites. Everyone's blowing up the news about T not signing. He's not going to be there for optional team activities. I think
Right.
that's important. I don't think Jamar Chase is going to be there either, and he's obviously not
Right.
in any kind of contract disputes. So I think it's a whole lot of nothing, and my opinion still hasn't changed. T is not passing up on $22.7 million or whatever that is, which is what it would mean if he doesn't sign that tag and sits out this year. He also wouldn't get the year off of his franchise tag, so he would probably be a Bengal again next year, right at that first tag line, instead of getting the 120% bump if they tagged him a second time had he played under this tag. So I don't think it's a feasible opportunity that he doesn't sign and sits out this year.
Yeah,
But what if he retires? Because we talked about with Trey Hendrickson. He's saying he's going to retire. I believe him. He's going to walk away from all the millions in his prime, and he's going to go. What?
He was at optional. Trey Hendrickson, proud member of the Bengals, at optional training activities.
Oh, look at that.
So
Leader.
It's almost like his agent was just full of crap,
No.
just spouting some
Yeah.
nonsense.
He was going to retire, though, Casey. They want you to believe it.
Jimmy, you were about to.
yeah. So my question is, if T. Higgins doesn't go, like, does he really want it? Like, does
It's a good question.
It is. So that is the one point when this comes down to this whole thing. And yesterday we were told, hey, we got to make more TikTokable takes. So this is my. You ready, Kirby, or whoever's gonna make this? This is my TikTokable take. The TTT. The TTT is about T Higgins at OTAs. Man, that was a
lot of T's.
That's a lot of T's. All right. 3 things you got to remember about this whole T Higgins contract thing. 1, T Higgins will play. Jacob just said it. We all know that he's not going to pass up the franchise tag money. You can say all you want, oh, I'm not going to play, but when you start missing game checks, it gives you a lot of incentive to go out there. Number 2, T. Higgins will play up to the level of T. Higgins. I know everyone wants to say that, hey, there's not a whole lot of motivation there. What more motivation do you get than playing in your contract year, knowing that you have to show out to get what other wide receivers in the market are getting? Numbers near $100 million. Now, is T. Higgins worth that? I don't know, but we certainly know he's going to be one of the higher paid wide receivers next year. And the third thing that we've all got to remember here in Cincinnati, he will play up to his level, but most importantly, perhaps, he'll be gone next year. He will no longer, more than likely, be a Cincinnati Bengal after this year. As much as that breaks all of our hearts, we love T. We want to see T in stripes for the duration of his career, but you just can't justify paying him the amount of money that he deserves to be paid. Deserves to be paid when you already have to shore up money to our star quarterback in Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, the number 1 here in this city. It's a good problem to have that you have guys underpaid on your staff, on your team, on your roster, because that means you have a pretty good roster. When you have overpaid guys, you're probably not winning too many games. T. Higgins is underpaid. T. Higgins will get paid next year, and T. Higgins will play for the Cincinnati Bengals come September, and he will play up to his level. All right, that was my TTT. That was my TikTok take. Ellie Rude, do you have an opinion on this whole T. Higgins thing? Are you tired of the noise? Are you just, or is it just white
I don't think
noise?
it's a big deal. It's a business. It's a business move. When you get the franchise tag, the franchise know what it's doing, and the player knows what he is going to have to do. It's just the standard thing that everybody deals with. The franchise tag means the team is not going to pay you. You're going to play 1 year. You're going to make a lot of money in that year. But it's not a commitment to that team. You're committing to yourself. You're going to still play. You're not going to lose out on money, on $22 million?
22.7.
So T. Higgins isn't missing out on $22 million to prove some ethical, moral point to the Cincinnati Bengals that he's better than them. It doesn't make sense to him. It doesn't make sense to anybody. He's going to play. He's going to be a Cincinnati Bengal. He'll be ready by week 1.
Yeah, I mean, I could make an argument that this is actually a good thing for T. Higgins and the Bengals. Keeps him healthy throughout the entire preseason. Like we struggle with staying healthy throughout the preseason, throughout this offseason. Him not being there for the whole thing, I don't think is a big deal. He's been here in Cincinnati for 4 years straight. He knows the system. He knows his players. He knows what to do, right? He's not being asked to do anything more than what he's already been doing. So him missing out on time, much like the Jessie Bates didn't really miss a step. I mean, he was fine after being in the our team for 2 weeks, and then I expect something very similar with T. Higgins. He's going to be fine. And
I like that this news keeps popping up from Adam Schefter and national news guys, because it gives almost a sense of like everything's going wrong in Cincinnati. What's the old Lil Wayne line? Real G's move in silence like lasagna. And that's what I want the Bengals to do. I want them to lay low. I don't need to have the best odds to win the Super Bowl. I don't need for everyone in their preseason power rankings to put the Cincinnati Bengals in the top 5, the top 3. I don't need that. I know what we have here in Cincinnati. We have Joe Burrow, we have Jamar Chase, we have T. Higgins, we've got a young defense, and we've got maybe the best offensive line that they've had in the Joe Burrow era. We've got a pretty good coach that I believe in. Maybe not everyone believes in, but I believe in. And we got good offensive coordinators, or at least on the defensive side. Or we got good coordinators, at least on the defensive side. We'll see what happens on the offensive side. So I don't need when it comes to the Adam Schefter and everyone's like, oh, everything's wrong in Cincinnati. It's not. This is what's gone on. This is how the Bengals have conducted business. Now it's just the guys that were young when they first made this run. It's their time to get paid, and it's just normal business for how the Cincinnati Bengals conduct it, for how agents and players conduct it. This is nothing new. This is truly nothing new. And as I've mentioned, it's not an indictment that T. Higgins won't get a contract next year. It's not an indictment that they haven't given him an extension already. It's really just because his team has so many good young players that you have to, in a salary cap league, allot funds to more important positions. And I think that we all can agree that Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase should get money over T. Higgins. That's not even a question. It's not even something that we ever bring up. The question is, can we pay them both? And I don't know, with the way that the draft's working, with how many wide receivers are coming in ready to play more than ever, it becomes harder to pay a number 2 $25 million or whatever he's going to get paid going forward. But as this whole point was, T. Higgins is going to play. When that $1.7 million game check misses up on week 1, if he even does that, because we saw that with Chris Jones, although he did get an extension, he did get a 1-year deal and then got the long-term extension this offseason. All it takes is missing one, and he won't even miss one. He'll show up when it's time to show up, and he'll be ready to play.
Do you think the franchise tag, when a player is signing that, and he knows he's essentially fighting for another contract, is what he's doing. He's trying to get some more value on himself. Do you think T. Higgins is going to have a career year this year playing under the franchise tag?
Players typically play better on a contract year. We all know this. They have a lot more to play for. You eat what you kill. So you go out there. We've seen this in baseball all the time.
Yep.
Be weary of guys in contract years, because after they get the big one, they come back and they don't look like the same player.
Shout out Fat Moose.
Javy Baez.
Yeah. If you go down the list, I think Andrew Jones is a big one that he came into spring training about 60 pounds overweight. But I don't know. I don't know if he'll have a career year. He's had a fantastic career. I think he will be the same player that we've seen when healthy throughout his entirety.
Yeah.
If he stays on the field, that's all I know.
That's fair. I'll say this. The look of the Bengals when Trey Hendrickson came out and he did his little fake thing where he's going to fake retire and we're going to request a trade and all that nonsense. That to me was like the sign of like it was just a bad look. It was a bad look for the organization, in my opinion. I'm not saying it mattered in the long run. I still don't even know. Is anybody even talking about Trey Hendrickson's requesting a trade? No, not right now. So I think if you look at that, I think that was the national perspective and for guys like Adam Schefter. He's like, oh, the Bengals are in peril right now because Trey Hendrickson and T. Higgins are both wanting out. And both, I just think they want more money, and this is a standard way to get it in the NFL. You say, I'm going to request a trade, and then nothing really happens. Sometimes it happens, but not.
Do we know who Trey Hendrickson's agent is off the top? Was he just trying to get in the news?
It's not a Mulligata or a,
one of the main guys.
It's not a major name.
Right, I was going to say, was he just watching the news and saying, this is what everyone else does?
And with
That's
Trey,
what we should try.
Harold Lewis.
Yeah, I've never heard that name before in my life. If Trey's already at optional training the first session, not even when veterans are here. That was obviously, to me, an agent trying to stir the pot. I mean, Trey is certainly underpaid. He signed that extension last year to add an extra year to his contract, and his production certainly outweighs the amount of money we're paying him when compared to other edge rushers. But with him already here, that seems like a whole nothing burger to me.
It was at the time that it came out, and we knew this because I think Elliott he still gripes with the retirement threats.
Because it was nonsense. It's a nonsensical bluff. There's a couple people that can bluff that. If you're like a 37-year-old quarterback, you can bluff that. You can't do it if you're in your prime. And coming off one of his best seasons. You can't do that.
I see a lot of sentiments in the chat worried about T. Higgins going down the Jessie Bates route of a 1 year on the franchise tag and then walking for free and getting nothing in return. And a lot of people are saying that they'd rather just trade T and have a haul this year and make a long-term run. I think something a lot of people might not realize is the double tagging him again next year is only a 120% increase on this year. It'd be about $28 million. Certainly you're not running that out on the field, but you have the opportunity to tag him for a number below $30 million that fits with our cap space and trade him next year while still having this year as a full run with these weapons and giving it a full go at the Super Bowl. And if he plays up to the level that we've come to expect from T. Higgins, like Reed said, you're not trading him at low value when he played a career low in snap count, a career low yards per catch and everything last year.
But isn't the problem with that though, like you're kind of showing your hand around the league? Like,
certainly, you'd be forced to trade him, but even if you're not getting the maximum package, it's better than nothing.
That's fair.
In my opinion.
That's fair.
I said, and we made the joke when the show first started, like, hey, we talk about this T. Higgins contract. We've talked about it at least once a week for the last 4 months now, 5 months now. And it continues to rear its head. And I said back in January, I said in February, I said, and I'll continue to say it, the most likely scenario is that T. Higgins plays on this franchise deal. And I know we can double tag, but I think more than likely he walks out the door. And that's, and I know you're not getting value for a player that you've had. Just like Jessie Bates. You could have traded him away for some picks. But in where I would have liked the Bengals to trade T. Higgins if you would have gotten certainly if you would have got a first. I think you even make the deal for a second and a later round pick. But that was never what was going to happen. We knew this. We knew T. Higgins was going to play it out, and it's going to be pretty similar to Jessie Bates. And I want to remind people, and I try to remind people about this Jessie Bates thing. Don't be scared of what T. Higgins becomes when he goes somewhere else. Don't be scared of T. Higgins going to another team and catching 1,200 yards and near 10 touchdowns. That's not the end of the world because we can still have players in the draft. The way that the draft is working, it still might be the best course of action to just say, hey, we got one more year of T, and then T, congratulations, you're going to go get paid somewhere else. And we're going to continue to allot the money, the funds that we have to where we need it. Offensive line, protecting Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Trey Hendrickson, places like that. That's okay. Just because your ex goes out and flourishes in the world on her own doesn't make breaking up a bad decision. It doesn't. It doesn't. All right, we're going to go to a break here. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more in the National Football League. The back half of this show will be centered around the Reds, who begin a 9-game homestand tonight. But we'll be back soon on 1410 Wing AM. Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Reed Mouse. Once again, I'm not the host. We're going to have a new look to this show soon enough. We're trying to get you to that by the start of next week. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Sometime next week.
Yeah.
Maybe the week after.
I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what this looks like. All right. Some other news that came out is it looks like the Vikings are doing the same thing with Justin Jefferson, going through the same thing, right? Or what's the news on Justin Jefferson that he didn't report to OTAs?
The difference with Justin Jefferson is that he is under contract.
That's right.
And he has to play in order to have his clock start and have his rookie contract expire this year and hit the market. So if he doesn't show up, he'll still be under his rookie contract next year. So there is a 0% chance that he doesn't play this year. The question is just, is it going to be for the Vikings? If you're the Vikings and you can't get him locked down long term, do you look to make a trade and recoup a ton of assets when you just got a rookie quarterback and try to set him up for success?
Are we just gonna fire up all the takes today?
I like
First
it.
we did the T. Higgins one. Now we're doing Justin Jefferson to Cincinnati.
Whoa!
Whoa! Does this reignite? Casey, you think this reignites the talks that JJ is going to come back to Cincinnati? Going to come to Cincinnati and play with Jamar and Joe?
I mean, I can't see a scenario where that happens now. There used to be one, but it's very hard to imagine something working out this time. It's very interesting that he's in New York. I don't know what the plan is there. I mean, like the draft already happened. Like, unless there was some major trade that we just can't even comprehend. Like maybe they trade away. Who did they pick in the draft? I don't even know who they picked. I know it was a tackle, right?
Fashanu.
Fashanu. Maybe they trade Fashanu to the Vikings. That doesn't make a lot of sense, though. I don't know. It just doesn't compute.
They drafted Malachi Corley from Western Kentucky. They have Garrett Wilson. I certainly don't think the Jets need to make a big splash move for a receiver, but I guess Aaron Rodgers just gets whatever he wants, like we saw last year with his wish list. So if he wants Justin Jefferson, the Jets might go get him.
What do you think the likelihood is that Justin Jefferson plays for somebody other than Minnesota
This season?
year? This season.
2%.
Yeah, I don't think there's a chance.
Not high at all.
I'm up to like 10.
10?
Probably 10%. Because I think if he doesn't sign an extension, he will be traded. I don't think there's any way he just plays this year on the last year of his rookie contract and goes into a fifth year.
What do you think the trade is? Like, what do you think the value is there for him?
Multiple firsts and a starter?
Do we think that value's that high? JJ's the best wide receiver in the league, but multiple firsts and a starter with the way that wide receivers are flooding into the league.
I think I don't know what else you trade him for though if you're the Vikings. You see what because both sides certainly have to agree. I don't know if it'd be a good trade to trade those assets for Justin Jefferson, but if you're the Vikings, you're certainly not moving Justin Jefferson for a late first and a backup receiver. Like that's never going to cross your mind. So I really don't know what the value is, and that's probably why it's over a 90% chance he stays with the Vikings.
If the Vikings trade their generational wide receiver to the New England Patriots, do Drake May and the Patriots go undefeated this year?
Yes.
And then lose to Daniel Jones in the Super Bowl?
Yes.
Is that what
That
happens?
is exactly what happens. Yeah, I don't think JJ's leaving. I think the first of all, the Vikings would be fools not to pay that. Pay whatever he's asking, pay it. Pay it hard, pay it fast. And you just drafted a quarterback. Nothing says let's help the quarterback out by keeping a generational superstar at wide receiver. J.J. McCarthy, if he didn't have Justin Jefferson this year, I mean, what are we doing? I mean, who's that guy going to throw to? And with all due respect to K.J. Osborne and
Jordan Addison.
Jordan Addison and T.J. Hawkinson. What are you talking about?
you're still losing the number
No
one receiver
doubt.
in the
I'm not
league.
saying that, but they don't act like they're got scrubs.
Jordan Addison's a number one. Are we saying Jordan Addison's a number one?
I think he could be.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I think he could.
You think he could be?
Absolutely.
Could be.
100%.
Yeah.
All right. I disagree. But to each their own.
Well, you could also look at it.
Jordan
from,
Addison was the one last year when JJ was down, right? Had 1,000 yards, 10 touchdowns. That sounds like a one.
Yeah.
T.J. Hawkinson's a one on a lot of teams as just a receiving option. I know he plays tight end, but just as a receiving option, he's certainly a lead.
With Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, T.J. Hawkinson, they might have the best weapons in the league.
I think so.
Like they're certainly top three, but you could get in the debate of they have the most.
You could also look at it from this side of Justin Jefferson is going to need targets, so McCarthy would have to force or Darnold, whoever starting, would have to force the ball to him, which it may be easier for him to just have all these options, and they get a big return for Justin Jefferson, whenever that may be. And I doubt it would be before the season started, just to see how he kind of works with Jefferson.
You also got to remember, where are the Vikings at as an organization, right? Are they think that they're ready to compete?
No.
Because on the periphery, it doesn't look like they are. I mean, they won 7 games with about 12 different quarterbacks last year, and a hurt Justin Jefferson. And they drafted a quarterback. Or do we think that the Vikings are going to be competing for the NFC this year? No. But can you lock up JJ and make it? So, what is the organization? Where are they at? Because if you can get multiple first-round picks, I think the Vikings would be willing to do that.
Yeah.
I think that they would be willing to trade Justin Jefferson for 2 firsts and, as Jacob said, a starter. I don't think any team's going to give him that.
Right.
I don't think any team's going to give him that.
I think if you're the Vikings, you have to try to compete, and you have to talk yourself into being a competitor right now. 2 years ago, you were a 13-win team, obviously lost in the first round to the Giants, but you were a good team. Kirk Cousins was an MVP candidate. Obviously, you have a rookie quarterback in there. But we've seen the recipe to success in the NFL right now, and that's putting talent around a rookie quarterback on his rookie contract. That's
Shout
like
out
what
the
Elliott
Bengals.
said. You certainly have to re-sign Justin Jefferson, throw him that money while JJ's not getting paid a whole lot, and try to compete right now. Because if JJ doesn't work, and in 4 years you're looking at trying to draft another quarterback, and you just traded Justin Jefferson for picks, you'll just be upset that you didn't give JJ his best shot possible. So I think you have to try to talk yourself into being a competitor as much as you can.
Now, when you're talking yourself into being a competitor, you also have to remember that that division is in a much different state now than it was 2 years ago. The Lions look like perennial contenders in the NFC. The Packers had a very young team last year and almost won 2 games in the postseason, almost went to the NFC Championship game. I would argue that they should have. And then you've got the Chicago Bears, who are loading up. As you said, you should load up around a young quarterback. That's exactly what they're doing with possibly the greatest prospect that we've seen in the last decade.
Yeah,
Caleb Williams.
I think it's tough for the Vikings too because I think they're plus 900 last place projection in the NFC North, which is, like you said, a very good division. And their defense is not very good. Like, they gave up a lot of points last year to a lot of
None of those
division
teams' defenses are great.
Yeah, none of them are great.
The Bears, top 10 defense after they got Montez Sweat. I'd watch
Yeah.
out this year.
Yeah,
there you
but
go.
Watch
that's
out.
also only half
Why
the
couldn't
season.
Justin Fields win there?
Yeah.
Good
But
question.
I feel like
Because
if
they
they're
kept leaving the gates unlocked and people kept stealing their equipment.
I feel like if you're forcing yourself to sign Justin Jefferson, you're kind of limiting yourself to really beef up a roster. Like, they could get a huge return for Justin Jefferson now or at the start of the year to beef up their offensive line, to beef up their defense, because they already have the weapons on offense to have
Right.
a really good offense.
Yeah.
And-
Listen, I think that NFC North, I think it's an arms race more than anything else. Like, you could say, hey, I want to beef up the defense and have the better defense. But at this moment, the way that the Bears, the way that the Lions look, and the way that the Packers look, it's an arms race. It's, hey, who can score the most points here? There's not a lot of good defenses there. They're getting better. Lions they've got a great pass rush. The Bears, as you mentioned, in the second half of the year, had a pretty good defense.
And especially with, like, JJ, he needs, like, a run game option, and I feel like
You don't think JJ would work passing 50 times a game?
Aaron Jones.
No,
Aaron
nobody
Jones
thinks
is the
that.
Vikings running
I don't
back.
know. I don't know. I think it'd work.
he passed
Aaron
like,
Jones is damn
Aaron
good.
Jones is a good running back. I think that's
he's very good, but their offensive line also isn't, like, exceptional.
You don't think JJ would work throwing 50 times a game?
No.
Which is not who he is. He didn't do it in college. You can't ask him to double his throws and expect it to work.
Double? We're
we're
talking
acting-
like quintuple.
We're acting like JJ's starting this year too.
Yeah, that's
There's
another
a-
thing. He
there's a-
probably won't even start.
Which means, like, when you pick a quarterback in the draft, you're opening up your window, and then you're having that potential of him sitting a year. You're just shortening that window. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily a big deal if they don't sign him to Justin Jefferson to a long-term deal, because in their minds, they probably haven't even opened the window up yet. Like, it's not there yet. It's still being built. The foundation's still being built before they actually make that run. If he starts, that's a whole other conversation. Then the window's open. You provide him with all the help that he can get. But like you said, the weapons are there. Like, you're not losing. You're gonna lose out on this year, but you're gonna have all those future picks from Justin Jefferson. You're still gonna have T.J. Hawkinson, Addison. I think they could probably figure out their run game with Aaron Jones. I think he's a much better running back than Madison, I think.
Madison,
Yeah,
yeah.
much better than Madison was last year. I like the Vikings a lot offensively. I don't think they can go wrong either way. It just depends on how JJ is this offseason. If they think he's ready, then you sign Justin Jefferson. If he's not ready, trade him and provide him the best window of opportunity going forward. Build around him.
I've got something that might blow your mind.
Ooh, I like this.
If they're going to trade Justin Jefferson played on the same college team as Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Oh, he did.
We also have some contract negotiations with our star wide receiver. What if we trade T. Higgins for Justin Jefferson and package that with a first rounder, and Justin Jefferson
Oh my
comes
goodness.
and plays with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. We get Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
Oh
we
my
bring back
goodness.
Thaddeus Moss and Coach O.
Yes.
Coach O.
Coach Ogeron. Yes.
Jacob, would you trade forfeiting the rest of this Red season for Justin Jefferson being a Bengal for the next 5 years?
I'd trade the rest of this Red season for 5 games, Justin Jefferson. give me that first 5-game stretch with Justin Jefferson in stripes, and I'll give you the rest of the 100 games we have for the Reds.
If Justin Jefferson came to Cincinnati and it was Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and Joe Burrow, I think there would be a legitimate parade. I think they'd march outside to Paycor Stadium and they'd celebrate. That's how big of a move it would be. I don't think Roger Goodell would allow it to happen. That's how big of a move it is.
Wait till I tell you also where they're playing the Super Bowl this year.
Oh my gosh.
Cincinnati.
This is the cherry on top.
They are playing the Super. So, a reminder: these guys played in college together at a school called Louisiana State University. They won a national championship there. They are playing the Super Bowl in Louisiana this year.
No way.
What?
They are.
That's
yeah.
crazy,
Wow.
right?
That's crazy. It's almost like we should make a video about that.
It's kind of crazy.
Kind of crazy.
The other thing that or is there any orange in the Super Bowl logo?
No.
I feel like
No.
Charlie Day and It's Always Sunny
Right.
connecting all the dots.
But
We'll
But
see.
I as tired as the T. Higgins stuff is, the JJ to Cincinnati stuff. It got me excited about 2 months ago, but yeah, I'm over
It's
it.
since died.
I'm over it. We're gonna continue to do it. It's good. It's gonna continue to happen. I don't know how we unhitched the wagon from the 2019 LSU team. Maybe we cemented that when we drafted Jamar Chase here in Cincinnati, but it's just gonna continue to happen from here on out. And maybe that's okay. Maybe I should just have fun with it, as I just did there in the dwindling moments of that segment.
And we do have a little extra pocket change. Trade away T. Higgins with that franchise tag. You could theoretically pay Justin Jefferson for year 1. Maybe it's a 1-year rental for a lower amount of draft capital. I don't know.
I mean, what do you want to do? Tee in next year's first?
I don't know. What's
He said
what's
a little
worth
bit of
the-
draft capital, because they just a little bit,
just a little.
Yeah.
not a lot,
Tee in fifth?
not a lot.
I don't know.
50 cent, just a little bit.
I'm not gonna give up hope. I'm gonna be the guy that
could
just holds on
happen.
to it.
It's
all year.
it's.
I'm all the way on the Jermaine Burton train. We don't need Justin Jefferson.
I would be delighted. Maybe I'm putting myself in a camp to where I feel good either way. To where I told you guys it was never going to happen if it never happens, and then if it does happen, oh, it's cool, we got Justin Jefferson. So I'm putting myself in a camp where I can't lose, but I just can't see it. It just seems like speculation. It just seems like speculation, and I'm kind of tired. I'm kind of tired of the speculation.
As we go to break right now on ESPN 1410 Wing AM, I'm gonna tease one thing for you. Our quarterback Joe Burrow just got a new haircut.
Ooh,
It's been trending all over Twitter, but is it real? You'll find out next. We'll be right back.
Welcome back to 1410 Wing AM, the home for sports in the Miami Valley. This is Off the Bench, presented by our friends at United Dairy Farmers. And Elliot teed up the news that our best friend of the show, Joe Burrow, he would identify all of us as his best friends.
That's right.
Has a new haircut, and this is it. What? I
I need to see a AI of him in Anakin when
Yeah.
he's saying, "I have brought peace, freedom."
Yes. I would love him holding a
I would love
lightsaber
that.
instead of a football. Oh, my goodness. Could you imagine the things he will do going forward? He's going to become the great emperor of the dark side. Could you imagine that? That's all in Joe Burrow's future.
We got the,
The
strength.
chosen
he's
one.
not the dark side.
The chosen one. He did bring balance to the force
He did.
eventually.
He was a good guy at the end. He died a hero.
People think that's his
I
real.
cannot believe people think that's real.
It doesn't even look like his face.
At all.
It looks completely computer generated.
Oh, yeah.
Like completely just.
I mean,
not,
at first
not all
glance,
in
it looks real.
I'm not gonna lie. I thought it was real when I first looked at it.
Yeah.
That's for sure. But listen, if you don't want to have the fun with it, we don't have to have the fun with it. I'm just saying, if he comes out with that haircut, Super Bowl guaranteed.
I've only seen roughly 50,000 videos of Joe Burrow throwing balls in training camp this year with hair that looks nothing like that. So maybe I'm online too much, but
maybe
I
you
don't
had
know.
it tucked away like under a hat.
Yeah.
All right, so as we're talking about National Football League quarterbacks, we have been talking, off air about, hey, what are they going to do with all these quarterbacks that need contracts? Tua, Dak, T-Law was the most recent rumor. Jacob, what is the rumor on Trevor Lawrence's contract deal?
It was tweeted yesterday that the Jaguars and Trevor Lawrence are nearing a contract extension with money per year well over $50 million. So somewhere right in that Goff, Burrow, Mahomes, Hurts, Lamar Jackson range that we see these contract extensions going for. And I don't know where everyone stands on Trevor Lawrence, but at least personally, I do not think he's a $50 million quarterback.
I would agree. I would concur. I think I'm the only one that thinks Trevor Lawrence is good in this room.
You might be right.
I think definitely the producer side thinks he sucks.
Yes, that's correct. I think the people want to make out his film and say that he makes great throws, but they just drop the pass. Well, a lot of those are because they're outreaching and it's just overthrown and they just barely miss out on the catch. I think he's not very great. He's not very good. He had a stacked roster last year and did nothing with it.
He was hurt.
Everyone dubbed that Jaguars team last year the number 1 seed in the AFC.
Not who the heck is everybody?
You did.
You did.
No.
Yes, you did.
Your best friend,
I
Colin.
said it might happen.
Colin and
might
Pete
happen.
Briscoe had the Jags at 1.
I said it might happen. They had an
Briscoe
easy schedule. They
winning
started
it all.
out 8-3. 8-3.
They had one of the
And then
easiest,
Trevor Lawrence got hurt and they started losing games.
They had one of the easiest schedules. They had one of the best rosters, and they still couldn't make the postseason.
Okay, so they were 8-3. You ready for this? You ready for their easy schedule towards the end of the year? They played the Cincinnati Bengals.
Jake Browning.
With Jake Browning.
Sure.
And gave up 34 points.
Sure, the team that went 9-8, playing the hardest schedule in NFL history was a cupcake. Sure. Then they played the Cleveland Browns. Okay. The Baltimore Ravens the week after that. They easy? Is that an easy schedule? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who won a playoff game. Is that an easy one?
They're all right.
Then we played the Panthers. Then they played the Panthers. Okay, they got their dub there, and they rounded out the year against Will Levis, the prince that was promised, and the Titans.
And lost.
That you could say that's an easy that's not an easy schedule.
The Titans
They
stink.
couldn't-
The Buccaneers were a mercy rule division winner.
And Jake Browning and Joe Flacco.
They won a
for
playoff
Bengals and
game.
Browns.
They won a playoff game. The Buccaneers
They were
did.
8-3 and missed out on the playoffs.
They won a playoff game against an Eagles team who was on a 1-11 stretch.
Yeah.
I don't know. You got a banged up quarterback and you're playing that schedule. I don't blame you for missing the postseason. Now, do I think that Trevor Lawrence is worth $50 million? No. But that's the going rate for the quarterbacks now. And these teams are going to have a very tough decision. All these teams, all these quarterbacks, because someone will pay Trevor Lawrence that much money. So, do I think that Trevor Lawrence will get that much money? Yes. The other quarterbacks, I don't think Dak will get that.
Oh, Dak.
Yes, he will.
Dak's going to get more.
I think Dak will get more
I think
than
Dak's
Goff.
going to break the record.
I think Dak's going to break the
Yeah.
record. I
Dak-
think Dak might get 60.
In Dallas?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Dallas?
They have, if you look at Dallas's roster construction right now, CeeDee Lamb, Trayvon Diggs, Micah Parsons, all free agents next year. They're going to have to give Dak a big contract to offset his cap hit 3-4 years down the road so they can sign those guys.
I don't get the Dak stuff. I don't watch enough Dak. But I'm kind of tired of the Dallas Cowboys going 12-5 every year and then getting spanked in the postseason.
It's kind of funny.
It is funny.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. It is absolutely funny. But how can you give this guy a record deal when all you've got is, 2 playoff wins in 9 years or whatever, however long he's been there?
But let me ask you this. Is there going to be a great quarterback coming out of the draft that's going to be able to replicate his value while Jerry Jones is still alive? Because Jerry Jones is the one running the team, and I imagine Jerry Jones wants to be competitive while the old boy's still cooking.
Jerry Jones has found the fountain of youth by now, right? Like
Well, I don't know. Maybe
This,
he has.
this Inside Jerry Jones documentary coming out on HBO Max, I think, is
But-
going to tell us a lot.
But
that we don't know.
I'm just saying. Does Jerry Jones want Dak Prescott, a guy who's proven he can be great in the regular season, and give him a chance in the postseason, though unsuccessful? Or are you going to have take your chances with a rookie quarterback, take 2 years to develop?
They have their
Am
backup
I
quarterback back,
crazy?
too.
Like you're saying they gave him a
Ezekiel Elliott.
chance in the postseason.
Yes.
They gave up. They got absolutely demolished by the Packers.
I'm just
and you can
saying-
say they gave up 48 points, but
What rookie
They weren't even
quarterback helps that
competitive.
situation? That's what it comes down to.
And are you picking high enough?
Yeah,
To
correct.
even have a shot at one.
So it's all what it comes down to. And if they're not willing to rebuild, which I don't think Jerry Jones is,
Ever.
then you're riding with Dak.
What if Dion forces Shedeur to Dallas?
Well,
okay. So here's the question:
that would be wild.
What happens if
Could happen.
if multiple of these quarterbacks don't get contracts this year, to where Dallas has options, to where it is, and Dak is the best option out of all the guys that we've named.
They'll get contracts,
right?
though.
Like Tua, like
Love.
if Jordan Love, who presumably wants $50 million a year, I don't know how you give. I'm a big Jordan Love guy. Don't get that wrong. Don't get twisted. I beat the table about how good Jordan Love looked. But can you give him $50 million when you've seen 8 games? You've seen 8 great games? I can't justify that. So how are the Packers? They probably will, because you're just handcuffed by the quarterback position in the NFL.
Correct. That, for the same reason that all those quarterbacks are going to get contracts, is the same reason Dak's going to sign a contract, because you'd rather have Tua, you'd rather have Trevor Lawrence, you'd rather have Dak Prescott. Whether or not they're the world's best quarterbacks is irrelevant. You certainly know they're able to play in the NFL. They're able to compete every given Sunday, opposed to a rookie quarterback when you're taking a flyer, you're taking a chance.
It's
Vikings
the
don't know J.J. McCarthy's going to work. They don't.
It's the Marvin Lewis, Andy Dalton thing on a grander scale. You never knew
Right.
you were going to get someone better than Andy Dalton. He led you to the playoffs every year. So
If you're trying to sell me on keeping Marvin Lewis and Andy
I
Dalton,
think Dak and Mike McCarthy is just a little bit bigger on a little bit bigger stage.
Yeah.
I don't know. I agree with you guys. I do agree that Dallas probably will sign Dak Prescott too. I don't know if it'll be record setting. You guys seem to think that, but it'll be a lot of money. He'll be a top paid quarterback as he was this year. But I don't see it. I mean, yeah, you go 12-5 every year. But what have you seen in the postseason? And it's just the way that we think about sports. I talked about this, I believe, yesterday. Matt Stafford doesn't win one game. We think of Matt Stafford in an entirely different light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I just throw it out to anybody. If Joe Burrow wins that game, then no one's doubting Joe Burrow. No one's even throwing up the injury prone stuff. I mean, I don't know, but they're still going to be like, I don't know, Joe Burrow's over it. No one's saying that if he wins that one game. And is it fair to criticize Dak Prescott for his playoff performance alone? Maybe not. But I feel like we've seen the peak, the top of what the Dallas Cowboys are. It feels like we have seen, we fool ourselves every year for the past 3 years into thinking that this Dallas Cowboys team is different. This Dallas Cowboys team is a contender. Dak's throwing it all over the field. The defense, Micah Parsons getting after the quarterback. And then you get to the end of the season, and you give up 48 points to essentially a rookie in Jordan Love. And they scored 32 points, but let's be honest, they scored 3 touchdowns in the final quarter when the game was well out of reach. Garbage time to make that game even be close to a 2-score game. I don't know. I can't justify, I think, giving Dak Prescott $50 million. I'd give him 40 if he's willing to take that, but I don't think he's willing to take that.
I don't think you have another choice.
He's making
I know that's your
42
point.
already.
Huh?
He's making 42 already.
Yeah. You don't have another choice in the NFL. It's you've outlined this. You've said it just now. You've said it always. If you keep your quarterback upright, for the most part, your team's going to have a chance as long as that quarterback is somewhat competitive. And again, say whatever you want about Dak Prescott, Tua, they give their teams a chance. I'm not saying they're top 15 quarterbacks. I'm not saying they're top 10 quarterbacks. I'm saying they give their teams a chance. And they are all probably top 15 quarterbacks, except for Trevor Lawrence, who's probably a bottom 5.
Mr. Mo brings up a great question. What's the difference between Trevor Lawrence and Dak Prescott other than age? You said the difference. It's the age. You know.
The playoffs.
What?
Making the playoffs.
Well, yeah. Trevor's only done it once. Dak does it every year. But
It's a big difference.
It's the age. Let's see what Dak Prescott did in his first 3 years.
All of his playoff
he went to
advancements are in his rookie year.
Yeah. I was going to say, it's like his
Okay, so in his
rookie
first 3 years, he made the playoffs twice, right?
Yeah.
And then they were mediocre. The difference is Trevor Lawrence is 24 years old. Dak Prescott's going to be 31 come this season. So when you ask what the difference is, you already stated what it is. It's the age. I think that there's more to gain from Trevor Lawrence. I've seen the top of Dak Prescott, and the top of Dak Prescott is in the middle of the playoffs. It's not in the conference championship. It's not in the Super Bowl. It's right smack dab in wild card weekend, maybe the divisional round. Maybe. If you get to play a 67-year-old Tom Brady and a 7-9 Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But I can see where Trevor Lawrence can continue to grow. That's why I'm more willing to give Trevor Lawrence 55 over Dak Prescott, because Trevor Lawrence might develop. He was a top prospect. And when Trevor Lawrence is on, he looks amazing. So does Dak. Don't get me wrong, so does Dak. But I just feel like we've seen the top of Dak. I don't think we're close to seeing the top of Trevor Lawrence.
Who's a better quarterback, Dak Prescott or Jared Goff?
Come on.
Dak,
I would
right?
take Dak.
I would take
Any
Dak.
day of the
I
week.
would take
Yeah.
Dak.
Who would you take?
Jared Goff's a winner.
Jared Goff's had more
Jared Goff,
postseason
yeah.
success, though. Yeah, that's true.
When you have a better team, usually that's how it plays out.
So you're saying the Dallas Cowboys aren't very good?
No, that's what I'm saying.
The Dallas Cowboys were seated higher than the Lions.
I'm just saying that Jared Goff has played for some very, very, very elite football teams.
To be fair,
Dak
though,
didn't advance in the playoffs with a wide receiving core of Amari Cooper, Brandon Cooks, and CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah, that doesn't
with
help my
Zeke
argument.
Elliott with 1,300 rushing
To be
yards and the best O-line in the league.
and Jared
All
Goff
right,
is Jared Goff has taken 2 teams who are on 10+ year division droughts and won
Correct.
both of those.
Jared
divisions.
Goff's also, 3 years younger than Dak Prescott, I think, too? I think he's only 27, 28.
I think he's 28. Or
That
20.
year, 2 years ago, before Dak broke his ankle, when he was pacing to break every record ever, is still just in the front of my mind. His ceiling is, I think, top-level quarterback. We just don't see it enough. He's not consistent enough.
They score 1 million points. I think he's fun to watch, but
The thing about the Cowboys, and this goes to what you were saying about Jerry Jones and why I think that he will sign that contract, is Jerry doesn't like drafting top picks. Tony Romo was a late round pick.
Undrafted.
Dak, yeah, it wasn't even drafted. That's right, he was undrafted. Dak Prescott was a 4th round pick. Jerry thinks he can see it through. So he's not gonna draft a 1st round guy.
Well, you know who Dak's backup is? Trey Lance.
true. I forgot about
You
that.
could let Dak walk and throw Trey Lance in there. Maybe Jerry
Former
sees
3rd
something he
overall
likes in the
pick.
former top pick.
Former 3rd overall.
People forget.
I don't know. Hey, what do you do? What do you do with? And then this is the final question I'll have before break. What in the world do you do with Tua? Do you sign him because he's going to want 50 mil? He turned down 40, right?
Yep, the offer was around 40 that the Dolphins gave him at the end of last season or the beginning of this offseason. He declined it officially. So I think he's looking for that top quarterback money as well, and that's exactly what we talk about with Dak and never getting anywhere over the playoffs. And then he obviously has the injury concerns as well.
I think he looked right at Justin Herbert and said, I've done exactly what Herbert's done, if not maybe a little more. And yeah, that's what that's his probably floor, or exactly what he wants.
I've never seen a game quarterbacked worse, I think, than Tua did in that negative 30 degrees in Kansas City. I mean, the Dolphins just didn't have a prayer. They just didn't have a prayer. That's when the NFL should step in and just be like, hey, these guys are at a significant disadvantage right there. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Cincinnati Redlegs because you guys are Reds fans. That's what you are.
That's what I am.
That's what you
we
am.
That's what you guys are.
Yeah. Stay tuned. You're
what Jimmy's
listening to
gonna
Off
be.
the Bench on 1410 Wing AM. We're about to. That's what we should do for these breaks now, because we should just play. We'll keep a little counter of who's winning between you two. We'll put the camera on you two, and you guys play rock paper scissors, and we'll keep a counter of who's winning.
Yeah, I like
Without
that.
these breaks.
Here we go.
This is game number 1. If you tie, it's done though.
No.
Yes. We only got 6 seconds.
lift
We
your
only
hands
got
up
6
a little bit.
seconds. All right. Elliot's up 1-0. All right, Casey Rue. This is your time to shine.
This is my time to shine. This is what I provide for this show. And that's reading the ads, getting the money for us boys here in this room. Encore Technologies. They provide IT solutions for a data center
Data-centered
world
world.
with a suite of services from mobile computing to desktop to data center, supporting both centralized and work-from-home computing modules to improve efficiency. And
Jimmy?
productivity. Productivity. That's right,
Productivity.
Jimmy.
That was a ventriloquist.
Yeah, throw my voice.
Visit Encore.tech. Path to innovation begins here.
Where?
Right here in this studio. And let me tell you about this lovely bottle of water right here.
Lovely bottle.
I know you guys know what this is. Pawnee water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use. The result, a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNIwater.com so you can buy this great tasting water. Leave a like, drop a sub, turn notification bells on. Check out our memberships. We're going to start doing a lot more of that. I know we did a late Quiplash yesterday. We're going to have box lunch on Wednesday. We're going to have Quiplash on Friday. And more to come, right?
We're gonna have a watch along Thursday to Thursday.
Oh yeah, that's right. Thursday.
1P.
1P.
1P. You hate day games.
I hate day games.
I hate
As a
day games,
baseball,
too.
you hate
You
day
hate them?
games?
Let's go.
Day games.
The best.
Golly, they're the best. They're the
No.
best.
We'll have a
They're
couple.
Gillette. They're the best a man can get.
We'll have a couple bets going on too for the group. So we'll have a group chat bet, and
Correct.
we'll have that scrolling on.
Or
at
will
the
you be
bottom.
coming out of retirement for it?
Yeah, I'll probably come out of retirement for
Yeah,
it.
it's about time.
Heard to
It's
be
about time.
Homer.
Yeah, heard it be summer. Oh yes. Last year I rode the Dreamweaver summer.
Yeah. Dreamweaver was a magical ride. If you bet Reds money line whenever Dreamweaver pitched, you'd be up a lot of
And
money.
he's now just the best reliever, one of the best relievers in
People
baseball.
forget.
Is he really?
I believe we had a conversation about how
He was sub
Good.
2 for a
Yeah.
while. I think he blew up in one of those games.
Oh, no.
He's still in the 3s though. I'm pretty sure he's still in the 3s.
who could have seen him
magical.
working in a reliever role coming, Elliot?
Huh?
Who could have seen that coming?
Oh, nobody could
Him
have
working
seen it
as a
coming.
reliever.
But
He's got a 2-2 in 28
Certainly
innings.
not
He
Kroll.
struck out 31. So everyone wants to talk about how they optioned down Sam Moll. What they really messed up was not keeping around Luke Weaver and Kyle Farmer. That's where they really
Well,
made
you're
the
forgetting about the future first ballot Hall of Famer. The Reds let Joey Votto walk.
by the way, if you want, we can talk about that on the radio if you want. What an all-time bad year to let that guy go.
Oh my!
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
it's a bad look. Listen, whether or not you were going to pay a guy who was going to hit 180 with a 240 OBP and he's going to hit a decent amount of home runs, 25 million, 27 million, whatever it
What
was,
about 24 of those guys?
$25 million, saying all that, having guys like respect, and this is for Nick Kirby and Craig and all the Jacob Hurtubise believers. We have Jacob Hurtubise and Connor Capel up. Not to mention, we have Luke Maley, Santiago
You
Espinal,
slander the Reds
and
more than
Mike
I do.
Ford.
What about
Huh?
big fat Mike
You
Ford?
slander
I
the
don't
Reds.
slander the Reds. I don't slander the Reds. This is what they have. These are the names of the guys on the team.
My favorite thing is every once in a while I get a troll. I get a perfectly executed troll of Reds Twitter where people take me serious.
Yeah.
And I did that with Joey Votto, saying, man, the Reds really made a mistake not picking up his $20 million option. And so many people said, like, you're an idiot. Like, why would they do that? He's $20 million for a nothing player. It was beautifully executed. Beautifully. So shout out to the trolling work that I did that day. Also, you know what I just want to give a shout out to? There's a guy in our chat that has been beating the door down when it comes to giving kickers their credit.
Yeah.
So shout out Everett because Butker's finally in the news. So shout out to Everett for that one. They're
There
finally
you go,
talking
Ev.
about the kickers of the NFL.
There you go, Ev.
So shout out to you,
we
Everett.
go,
I'm sure that
Everett.
makes you happy.
That's great.
All right, we're going to come back.
Okay.
Well, you got something else to say?
No, it's okay.
Were you gonna have a point, a nuanced take on the Harrison Butker commencement?
I was
speech?
gonna make it a little silly, but that's
Save it for the radio.
Yeah, that's what I'll do.
This is where you come to nuanced takes about what Harrison Butker said. All right, when we come back.
5 seconds of silence, and then we go.
Yep. Camera to you guys. 1-0 Elliott. And we are back on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers here on the home for sports in the Miami Valley, 1410 Wing AM. And we're talking yesterday. We said, hey, what are we going to talk about on tomorrow's show? There's no Reds game to talk about. So we came up with a new segment. And Ellie Rue is going to take us through this segment. You are calling it...
Peaks and valleys. Peaks and valleys. And this is obviously a play off the wordsmith that is Nick Kroll. He goes out and he says poetry with his mouth. That's what he does. And he says we got to avoid the peaks and we got to avoid the valleys. Some are saying you really shouldn't avoid the peaks.
Yeah, personally, I would love a couple peaks.
I'd love to peak with a World Series one time.
once.
But Nick Kroll says no. We'll stay right here in the middle. But saying that, I'm going to list a couple players, and we're going to go around the room and say if they've reached their peak or if they're just struggling in the valley and they can climb their way out of there. But I've got 5 good names here, and we're going to see what we think. I'll start with Jacob. And Jimmy, obviously you might not know these guys. You are a Tigers believer. So if you have an opinion on it, you can certainly weigh in. Some of these guys might be future Tigers real soon. So we'll
Like
see.
Ellie?
No, not Ellie.
One of them an ex-Tiger, maybe.
Ellie is a future
One of
Dodger.
them is an ex-Tiger.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said one of them maybe an ex-Tiger.
One of them may be an ex-Tiger. Let's go. Here we go. Jonathan India, peaked or valley?
Well, I think it's very clearly a peak, and we're talking about 2-3 seasons ago at this point. When he was holding up that Rookie of the Year trophy, that was at the top of the mountain, and ever since then, it's just been a clean tumble downhill.
Yeah.
He clearly is in the valley. I remember when he was a rookie. I remember when he was a rookie. This guy was going to hit 40 home runs, multiple-time MVP. Nah, he peaked. I remember telling everyone when he was a rookie that his highest slugging percentage, I love this stat, his highest slugging percentage in his career other than his senior year in college. So you see all of his summer ball, all his senior stats on Baseball Reference, college stats, minor league stats. His highest slugging percentage was his rookie year in the MLB. That's not sustainable. It's not good.
That's unfortunate. I'm going to have to agree with both of you. I'm going to say, unfortunately, my guy, the king of leadership, has unfortunately peaked. I don't think you can get any better than what he did in his rookie season in 2021. Yes, Casey?
So this isn't based off of how they're doing at the current moment?
Well, no, it is. No, it is, because it's either they've already peaked in their career and what you're seeing is just never going to get better, or they're in the valley, it can get better.
Well, I think it can get a little better.
You think it can get better?
I think it can get a
so
little
he's
better. It's
Jonathan
like-
India, he's in the valley.
I think he's in the valley a little bit.
Okay.
Guys. I mean, like,
2021 Rookie of the Year leaderboard for the NL is one of the worst collection of names.
Let's read it.
Jonathan India won. We obviously know what he's up to. Trevor Rogers in second, currently reliever for the Marlins with an ERA over 6.
Did Vladimir finish in third?
Dylan Carlson third with the Cardinals. He's fallen off draft.
Goody
since
Yeah,
Goody
he's
Years
fallen
was like
off.
8th.
Patrick Wisdom, right after Dylan Carlson.
That's right. That's right.
Still a pretty good player. Then you got Ian Anderson and Tyler Stevenson. So, real
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
electric
whoa, whoa,
crop
whoa,
of
whoa, whoa,
names
whoa, whoa,
there.
whoa, 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 whoa! You forgot a cubby,
Oh, Schwindel.
Frank Schwindel.
Schwindel.
The summer of Schwindel played 50 games.
You thought him and Wisdom were going to be your next Rizzo and Brian.
We did Schwisdom.
Wisdom was big.
We went from Brizzo to Schwisdom.
Shirts were printed and everything.
Shout out to Jonathan India for taking advantage of that Hall of Fame class there. Moving on, and by the way, there's some confusion in the chat on what this game really is. We didn't think you'd have any confusion whatsoever when we panned this one out. Continuing on, though, Alexis Diaz. Has Alexis Diaz peaked, or is he just struggling? Is he in the valley?
Now, I'm going to say peak, but I do think he's in the valley right now and he's going to get better. I do not think we're ever going to see Alexis Diaz at the level we saw him before the All-Star break last year with a .3 ERA, double the strikeouts that he has to walks, a K rate up near 50%. I don't think we're ever going to see that level of Alexis Diaz again. So I'm going to say peak, but he's certainly not this bad. I think he'll get back to being a pretty good closer soon.
Relievers are fickle. So I say he's in the
Like
valley.
Luke.
I say he's in the valley. He's got too good of stuff. The ebbs and flows of every reliever, almost ever, unless your name's Mariano Rivera. They go up and down. You're just seeing the down. He's going to get better. He's going to be better.
I'm going to say he has peaked,
Yeah.
and you will not get any better. I think it's hard to get worse than having a 7 ERA throughout the entire year. But I'll say this. I think last season's stretch early on when he was coming in once every 2 games and he was throwing dominant scoreless innings consistently in the 9th inning, it was a big part of the Reds' success. You talk about one-run games. They're 1-11 in one-run games this year. They had a great record in one-run games last season, in large part because of how good Alexis Diaz was coming in the 9th inning and sometimes in the 8th inning when the Reds needed 3 outs. I think you've seen the peak. He was an all-star last year. I don't think he's going to be an all-star again anytime soon. Alexis Diaz has peaked.
So to clarify, we're talking about these players' careers, not just the season. Because we're talking about their career. If it's
honestly,
career,
You're asking too many questions.
honestly,
You're
I
asking way
think
too many
I
questions.
just say peak or valley because I can't explain it anymore.
It's just a game.
I mean, I guess he's in a valley. I don't expect him to be this bad the rest of the year.
Okay. All right. Moving on here, we have Fernando Cruz. Fernando Cruz is what, 38 years old? 38,
Something like that.
38-year-old free agent. The Reds brought in from out of town. Listen, Fernando Cruz had a great first, 15 games this season. Since then, bad. Very, very, very bad. He has given up, and this is the last 19 innings of work. He's given up 13 hits, 11 earned run, and 12 walks in 19 innings. Now, on the other side of that, he has struck out 36 in that time frame. So you can still get a high percentage of whiff rate and strikeout percentage and all the good stuff that you talk about when you mention Fernando Cruz. Saying that, I wasn't high on Fernando Cruz last year. He tried to change my opinion on him for the first 15 games this year, but I am out right now. I think Fernando Cruz, you've seen the best of him. I don't think it's going to get much better than this. I think he has peaked.
I think Fernando Cruz, he's on a ski trip right now, and the lift is broken. He's stuck in the valley, and he can't get up. But once they fix that lift and he gets on, he'll fly right to the top of the mountain. I mean, Fernando Cruz's stuff is so good, and he's still getting the strikeouts and everything. It's been really ugly. But just about a week and a half ago, we were all banging the table for him to be the everyday closer.
Yeah.
So I think he's in the valley. We're gonna see him get better here really soon, I think.
He peaked. He peaked. That's my take. He peaked.
I like that take.
Yeah, that's my take. He peaked.
But I thought relievers were fickle, Reed.
Well, when you're 35, you pretty much know it all. When you're getting Social Security, I think you pretty much know who you are as a reliever.
Casey?
Yeah, just to clarify, this is about his career or the season?
Casey has the best bit going right now.
I kind of agree with Reed, though. Once you're 35, 34, you kind of know what a player is, right? I mean, he's kind of shown his true colors. I know he's only played for a couple years. I'm just looking at his stats here.
In 2022.
Yeah, that shocked me. I looked at his age, and he was 34. I was like, oh, wow, we're talking about a really old guy. Yeah, I think this is the peak.
You think he has peaked?
Yeah.
Not this is the peak.
I think
because
this,
he's
Yes, correct.
No, I
Correct.
think this is
Correct.
the best he gets. This
Yeah.
is the best he gets.
Moving on to another 35-year-old. We have Jeimer Candelario. This guy, God bless him, he's very old. We know what he is. We've seen the back of his baseball card. He has picked it up lately. I don't think he can peak any higher than he's already peaked. Saying that would have to make him in the valley. I think he can certainly climb out of it and get a little bit better.
Yeah, I'm pretty comfortably going within the valley as well. He was hitting about 210 for the first couple months of the year, and then now he's hitting 263 in his last 15 games, last 57 at bats. So I really like the way he's trending. I think he's going to match those numbers on the back of the baseball card by the end of the year.
Candelario, I think he's the same age as Jake Fraley. I think that's true.
Really?
I think they're the same age. The thing about is it about their entire career or just their current run with the Reds? Because I think he has not peaked yet for the Reds. He's in the valley when it comes to the Reds, but he did peak in his career. I think he's on the downslope.
Reed stole the joke, so I'm not going to do it again to
That's
you.
good. Peak or valley, bud?
I would say for his career, it's definitely the peak. If this is the Reds, it's the valley.
I agree. I think
If it's not the game we're playing, it's this. If it is the game we're playing, it's that. Okay.
I think in his career, I think he peaked in Detroit. I think he had a really, really hot run when he first came to Detroit in 2017. He was hitting .330 with an .874 OPS. And then in 2021, he also had a really good year. He had 42 doubles, 16 homers. He hit .271. I don't think he's going to get really any better than he did then. I think he can be better, and I think he has already gotten better this year. But I don't think he'll get any better than
People forget that they got Jamer Candelario was traded for the GM's son.
Alex Avila. Yeah.
Alex Avila.
Really?
His dad was
Yeah.
the GM. His dad traded him away for Jamer Candelario.
His dad was
What?
the worst GM ever, too.
Yep.
That's funny.
Alex Avila's dad was the former GM of the Tigers,
Yeah.
and it was a mid-season trade, and they traded him to the Cubs, who were contending. So,
Yeah.
like, he was doing his son a favor.
Yeah, he
but
was
he's
doing his
like,
son a favor.
imagine that call. Like, hey, pack your bags. You're going to Chicago.
Yeah, you answer the phone. You're like, what time's dinner tonight?
Right.
Last two. Santiago Espinal. He was an all-star in 2022. Some are saying it's a Mercy Rule all-star appearance. Since then, he's batting .223 with a .275 OBP in the 2 seasons following that. Has he peaked?
I think it's a 2-season valley.
Or is he in a 2-season valley?
That's the route I'm going here. I'm with Trace on this everyday second baseman move with Santiago Espinal. Get him out there, use the glove, and I think the numbers will come up a little bit if he's getting more plate appearances.
I'm sure they'll come up.
So I'll say valley, but it's not as much a peak as it is like a little hill.
Yeah,
a little bump.
I would agree.
He can get up to maybe a 230 average.
Yeah.
That'd be exciting.
Little mosquito bites.
When
Yeah.
he showed up at wherever the 2022 All-Star game was played, maybe in Seattle, that was the peak of his career.
Correct.
That was the peak of his career. Didn't get an at-bat. I think he just
Did he
showed.
get an at-bat?
No, God,
Holy
no.
cow.
I think he only got there because like Corey Seager couldn't play. Xander Bogaerts. Xander Bogaerts couldn't make it, so they gave it to Santiago Espinal, one of I think 12 Blue Jays that made the All-Star game that year. That's I think literally like nine Blue Jays made that All-Star team. But yeah, he peaked.
He hit .311 that year. Or no,
Pretty good. It's gonna be hard to top that.
Going to be hard to top that. I'm going to say he has most definitely peaked.
Certainly.
Without question. Casey?
I think it's a peak.
Okay. Thank
There
you,
you go.
Casey. Final name, Luke Maley. Luke Maley was a serviceable player last year.
Was he?
Less so this year. He is hitting 158 with a 273 OBP, slugging 240. Luke Maley. I don't think you can really peak when you've had the career that he's had. I think it's just a career-long valley. So that's what I'm going to say he's in.
Luke Maley's saving grace last year was Tyler Stevenson's ineptitude behind the plate, and he showed a good glove, and everyone loved seeing him behind there. But as Tyler Stevenson's improved behind the plate, Luke Maley's position on the Reds seems to be few and far between, other than just giving a day off. So certainly a valley. I'd say he's barely even a major league player at this point.
I love that catchers and relievers play in the MLB for a decade, like a full decade. If you can do one thing kind of well, Fernando Cruz, if you can throw one splitter, you'll pitch. Some team will take you for a decade straight. If you're a lefty and can get lefties out, they'll throw you out there for 15 years in a row. If you who was Jeff Mathis? Jeff Mathis, terrible hitter, never one bright spot. And Luke Maley's been in the league now for 10 years, and he's quite literally never been a good hitter.
Yeah.
He's never been a good hitter.
Yeah, it's a career-long valley. You want to try to avoid those, says Nick Kroll.
His best OPS was 15 games in Milwaukee back in 2021. So you know what? We have not seen the best of Luke Maley. He will have a memory for the Cincinnati Reds.
Really?
Yes. He'll do something that'll save the season. Could be tonight. Could be
can't
tonight.
wait.
Could be tonight.
I have one more name I want to throw out there for valleys and peaks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Spencer Steer.
No, come on.
Yeah,
It's
valley.
I was going to put him in there, but no. He's in the valley.
275 last year, 350 OBP, OPS above 800, 3.0 WAR.
Pete,
Don't do that.
he's done.
Don't do that. That's Reed's terrible take.
No,
Let
he
him
did.
own that.
He absolutely peaked. And if he didn't peak, you might see it one more time. Then he got Twin Peaks.
Good restaurant.
No, nothing.
I liked it. I thought it was good.
Not getting anything out of you? All right, we got to wrap up this segment. We've got one segment left here on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers here on 1410 Wing AM. And we are back here on Off the Bench. The Reds start a 9-game homestand. Morale perhaps hasn't ever been lower. But you can take solace in the fact that they play 9 straight games. They'll play 3 games against the Padres, 3 games against the Dodgers, and 3 games against the Cardinals. Expectations of this homestand. Are we trying to keep the head above water, or is it already submerged?
If Nick Kirby and Craig Sandlin's guy, Jacob Hurtubise, shows to be the superstar that he is, I think there's a chance they go 9-0. But if he doesn't, which is likely, I say the Reds are going to struggle mightily. And that's not going to be because of Jacob Hurtubise. It's going to be because the team around him isn't very good. The starting pitching has been good. We're losing Nick Lodolo. So at this point, no, I don't have any hope. Any win the Reds get is a miracle. And that's a fact. There are no more easy games on this schedule because the Reds are now a bottom 5 team in the league. So it's hard to sit here and complain that, the Cardinals are coming to town, got to win 2 or 3. I mean, you got to win every game you can. I'm tired of the people. I saw somebody on Reds Twitter yesterday. He was saying how I was in this little community thing on Twitter where I don't know if anybody does this, but you're in a community, so your tweets aren't outside the community. It's all just inside this little bubble there. And we were saying to the community that the Red season, I mean, it's over. It's over because, not mathematically speaking, but it's over because the offense just isn't going to be there this season. And again, no fault of their own. They miss half the roster. So, saying all that, the season's over. And some guy said to me, it's not over. They just have to win every game or every series going forward. That's the recipe for success. If they win every series going forward, the Reds will be just fine. And I said,
would be fine.
You're right.
It could happen.
They certainly could. You're
All
right.
it takes is one 12-game win streak, and you're right back in the thick of things. You're right back.
It happened last year.
That's right. That's right. There hasn't been a year in the past year that it hasn't happened. So you can take that one to the bank. In the past year, there hasn't been a year where it hasn't happened. You got favorable pitching matchups. You got Joe Musgrove, who's a good arm. But
Unfortunately, pitching matchups don't help. That's the issue. We can hold them to 1 run. We're not going to score. You can shut everybody out, and the extra inning rule, we'll give up. Our team can give up 0 earned runs for a game, and we can lose. That's a fact. The other team will get 1 run in the top of 9th, or the top of the 10th. Sorry.
The White Sox, the Rockies, and the Marlins are the only 3 teams in the league with less wins than the Reds. This is bad. I think yesterday when you said 1 win and I said 3 wins, that's right about where we're going to be at for this 9-game stretch. I mean, there's no way.
What's the doomsday number though? Like if you go through this stretch and you win 3 games, how am I supposed to sit here and say
double your total in May already?
We're just going to sit here and we're going to.
All you got to do is win 1 and you'll have more than FCC.
Oh, Reed. By the way, super chat from Adam. Shout out to Adam. Elliot, Easy Train, Slim Shady, Rearing. Do you change your opinion on who has more wins, Reds versus White Sox? Not yet. But we're about one injury to Ellie De La Cruz away from me saying the Reds are the worst team in baseball. So
we'll let you know about 9 days. Here's what would make you feel good. What would be a delight? 6-3?
If we win 2 of these series,
correct.
That's a delight.
What if they sweep? What if they get swept by the Padres but sweep the Dodgers?
Can't get swept. You can't get swept.
The Dodgers, I'm fine.
What if they sweep the Dodgers?
It doesn't matter. If you get swept, I'm out. You just like the
You're
only
telling
the only
me
rest
if you sweep the Dodgers, you're out.
And they scored 14 runs on Yamamoto.
So you're saying
I like this fanfic over here. 14 runs on Yamamoto, sweep the Dodgers, sure.
Okay, but what if we win? What if we only win 1 other game? We still have 4 wins, 4 and 5 in that's 9-game stretch. You've accomplished nothing.
You're right.
Fair, but they swept the Dodgers.
That's what I'm saying. It's just like you would have to convince me that the Reds are alive and well. You'd have to have a winning record here.
Okay, what if
5 wins?
What if they went 4 and 5, but Hurtubise hit 3 homers?
Then I'd be all the way back. Then Jacob Hurtubise is the prince that was promised. Will be fine. But I'm saying if you win 3 games here, Reed, what do you say? We can have another 12-game winning streak? You can't say it anymore.
Yes.
The team's not good if you go 3-9 at home, and one of the series is against the Cardinals.
Jimmy's saying that if the season's still on, because you can always get that 12-game win streak. But I don't know. You're 9 games under in a very, very competitive division. I have tickets to the game on Saturday. I don't want to go.
I have tickets to the game Friday night. I don't want to go. Will I go? Maybe. Probably will.
It's gonna
Because
be
I
a
have to
sold-out
be.
crowd on Friday.
Where are you gonna go?
I actually called.
Really?
My brother's coming into town, and he really wants to see the City Connect jerseys.
Yeah.
His boys really want to see. They're both wearing number 44 for Ellie De La Cruz. I thought it was for Anthony Rizzo. I was wrong. Way wrong. Yeah, it's for Ellie. So they want to go see Ellie play, and I called for group tickets, and they are almost sold out of tickets total.
Really?
Like the cheapest
Wow.
ticket's like $20 nosebleed.
Wow.
So shout out to the Reds. They're
Baseball town.
yeah. They sell out stadiums.
I wonder how many opposing fans will be there. You just have to tune in Friday night. We'll see you all there.
Do you think the Dodgers fans, after they win, will sing "I'm a Reds fan"?
I mean, listen. I read the worse this season gets, the funnier that's going to get. Read stupid trolls. But as of right now, I still in the back of my mind think they're alive, and that's the saddest part of it all is that I know deep down that this is a dead team. But I have to sit here and think that maybe, just maybe, if they go on a 12-game winning streak, because we've seen it before.
Yeah.
But it's unlikely.
What do you think the playoff odds are at this moment on Fangraphs?
31%.
31%?
31.
6.
No.
Oh God.
Why would they be 31%?
I don't know. I was thinking about the odds. We were talking about the odds
Plus
of them getting
500.
there.
Plus 500.
That's like that's not a crazy like.
That's 1 in 3, so that'd be plus 300. So it'd be 20% would be the perceived odds.
All right. Well,
Plus 510 now.
plus 510.
Live movement.
Great value on
Let's
that.
go. Yeah, you're
They
getting
heard
good
you.
value there. Just wait till after this homestand, then you'll have the best value.
I'm looking at like the Rangers have 30% odds to make the postseason.
30%, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy. But listen, yeah, I'm done talking about them. I'm going to talk about them for as long as I have to on the show. But outside of work, I'm not going to go to my friends and say, "Hey, you guys want to watch the ball game?" I'm not doing it anymore. I can't do it. I'm out of steam. I'm out of hope. I'm out of optimism. My question for Around the Room is the little grace period that Nick Kroll had last season when all these guys worked. How quickly is that going to go to the wayside here? How many games under 500 before instead of fire David Bell, it's fire Nick Kroll? Because I don't think we're far away. I don't think we're far away from the get rid of Nick Kroll train.
How does the logic that David Bell's doesn't get his team and should be excused because of injuries, how does that not play for Nick Kroll?
No, it can. But Nick Kroll, unfortunately, has the ability to make trades and make moves. Not saying that a trade would work. I'm just saying from the opinion of Reds fans.
He's got six guys on the DL.
I'm saying from the opinion of Reds fans from across the country. It's not what I'm saying. I'm saying from the fan base's side of things. The fan base's side of things when you traded Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez was that it was a dumpster organization and people were protesting outside the ballpark. Shout out to me. But as of right now, Nick Kroll is riding high on Ellie De La Cruz, CES last year, Matt McClain last year, Spencer Steer last year. And right now, I think he's out of hope. I think he's out of optimism. I think the fan base is cooked. And to be quite honest, as we sit here through another losing season, I don't know what you can say anymore. I don't know what you can say anymore because it's clearly it's a culture of losing that's been established
did you see
since
Lance
the Castellinis have
McAllister's
taken
tweet
over.
yesterday?
That's
I thought Lance McAllister's tweet tied a pretty bow around the current level-headed. It's a level-headed take, I think, on Reds. Did you see this?
Yeah.
You did see this, and you
saw it.
disagreed wholeheartedly with it.
Vehemently.
Do you have it?
Well, you ready?
Yeah.
I'll give it to you here in a second. Let me pull it up. Give me a second. Give me a second.
I saw people talking about it. I think I saw the tweet.
I'm pulling it up. All right. No idea what this team has to do with since 1995.
Oh, okay. Yes.
Core arrived last couple of years. The plan had momentum last year with a 20-win improvement. Everyone was excited. Bell was manager of the year votes. Kroll, executive of the year consideration. Imagine wanted to tear it up, start it over after a 5-18 stretch with injuries. Hell, not sticking with a plan was what repeatedly got ownership in trouble. Now some fans want to do the same thing.
I don't think anybody in their right mind wants to quote unquote tear it down. I just think they want the general manager, who again, not Nick Kroll. Nick Kroll is the president of baseball ops. Thank you for that correction. Nonetheless, they want somebody to make a move to help a team that is clearly struggling. Whether or not you can make 7 trades, and the answer is most definitely no.
You're not gonna
Most-
Frankenstein a team
Getting
together.
rid of Bell and Kroll. Like that would be tearing it up.
Correct.
Like not player-wise necessarily, but
Okay, that
gutting
makes
the
sense.
front office would be tearing it up.
Right, yeah. If you take away the general,
manager,
or the
your GM.
baseball, whatever his role is, he's the reason. He's the one that makes the roster.
I agree with most of what he said. I disagree when you discount the past 25 years, and you say the Reds have just been one of the worst franchises in baseball for the past 2.5 decades, and we're going to sit here and pretend that it has nothing to do with this season. Nothing. I don't know. It's just hard for me to say after losing seasons that they just don't correspond with one another because it's a brand new roster. It's a brand new philosophy they've installed.
I guess at the end of the day I just disagree with everyone was on board, right? After what they saw last year, this team is going to take us to the promised land, and because of injuries and because of 1 month of May, we're gonna rip it all down, get rid of the GM.
But that's what I agree. Don't fire any of them because I say you give them. You wait till whatever happens this season. Wait till after the season ends. You go into the off season. You can reevaluate something there. Right now, yeah, obviously not. My question was, when will the fan base start to turn? And the fan base is very clearly starting to turn right now. But I'm saying if this season continues and we get to August and the team is 25 games below 500, there's going to be some serious questions here. And that's why I think when you look at how the franchise has performed over the past 25 seasons, I can look back and say this is just another notch on the Castellini pole. And I'm allowed to be frustrated with that. You're allowed to be. When the team is as bad as the Reds have been for this long, you can say something like that. You're allowed to draw some comparisons because it's the same ownership. There's been different teams. There's been different managers. There's been different GMs over this stretch of terribleness. There's been one consistent thing, and that is the Castellinis. Whether or not you want to say that's at fault for this season, which most definitely is obviously not, but I'm just saying you're allowed to draw that comparison.
For Nick Krall, at least, I know David Bell, I can kind of flip a coin and go either way on keeping or firing him, but for Nick Krall, at least, he gets the benefit of the doubt for these injuries, in my mind. The gripe everyone has with Nick Krall is he didn't build a competitive roster this year, and we don't have good bench spots, and we're playing quadruple A guys every night. Well, maybe he did build a competitive roster, and those guys just got hurt. Like, we didn't see the team that he built, the roster that he expected to field out there. And I don't know that there's guys that you can just turn around and trade for that automatically make this better. Anyone with value is on IL. That's why we have this problem.
No, you can't. There's nothing that can happen to this team right now that magically makes a Frankenstein of a playoff team. That's not going to happen. So, I'm going to reject. I'll do the David Bell talk because I don't know. I'll do the David Bell talk. The idea that Nick Krall should anywhere come close to losing his job is just nonsensical to me. It really is nonsensical to me. Because
when do you think the protests will start back? Because we're almost there.
You're the one that leads them.
I think we're close, Jacob.
I think you go 3-6 or worse this homestand. There's someone.
Do you remember what day that was on? Do you remember the date that you protested?
The what?
The date that you protested?
No. Why?
I didn't know if it was like Cincinnati's version of J6.
It's fun.
I didn't know if it was like March 28th in Cincinnati.
It's fun. It is funny though because I did that and then immediately got a job at 700 WLW and had to delete it.
Did you do it ironically?
Do what? The protest?
Yeah.
No, I was genuinely mad. I was genuinely mad. It's hard to see a vision when you blow up everything. But
2 years later, you had the most exciting season that you've seen.
And then it's all back down to zero
because of injuries.
But they've also been injured for, 5 of the last 5 years, so injuries happen.
Honestly did not know you worked at 700.
Really?
I didn't know you worked
used to work in radio. Speaking of radio, I think it's time to wrap up this show.
It is time to wrap up the show.
So thank you, Dayton listeners, for tuning in. As we always end the show, you can come and hang out with us, hang out with the chat at 10A. Just search Chatterbox Sports on YouTube and you'll find us. But that does it for our radio edition of the show here on 1410 Wing AM. Kenner and Kev coming up right after this. We're going to need the chat to keep count on that.
Yeah.
We're going to need the chat. Seriously. So
3-1,
Elliot's
right?
up 3-1. That's gonna be the reoccurring bit. You guys gotta let us know who's winning. Casey, you're gonna need to step it up.
Apparently.
All it takes, Casey, is 1 12-game win streak.
It does. That's all it takes is it's just a little streak, right?
Yeah.
A little streak.
Nick
And,
Kirby says in the chat, by the way, hopefully this show doesn't end up with the same numbers as the show that led the protest. Interesting.
I know nothing about the protest.
That was Nick Kirby who said it, not me. Yeah, you were saying something, Casey, before I rudely interrupted?
Nope.
Okay, just making sure.
I'm gonna have to go in a deep track and figure out this protest. I'm gonna figure out the date. It's gonna be Cincinnati's very own J6. We're
T-shirts.
Yes.
Remembrance.
I'm gonna find pictures of Elliott there, and yeah, I don't know. We're gonna see. I don't know when it comes to the Reds.
Are you?
Listen, I'm coming from the periphery. I know I do all the trolls and stuff like that, but I know you want something to change. But sometimes just extenuating circumstances just make it to where it's just is. You're already playing against a stacked deck, and we know this, right? You don't have the money that the Cubs have. You don't have the money that the Mets and the Dodgers and the Yankees have and the Red Sox. So you're playing against a stacked deck, and sometimes you're you're given a bad hand. And the answer isn't for Nick Krall to go out and bet before the flop comes out with a bad hand and try and trade for 3 pieces that can salvage this season. Because it's not even like this team was destined to win 95 games. It's not like this team is that stacked to where it's like, oh, we just need a couple pieces. Like, if we get a couple things in there, oh, we're back and we're playoff contenders. You need so many pieces. And I think this is where the hater comes in. Like, I always thought that the tip top of what the Reds could perform at was like 87 games, 87 wins. Like, might sneak 88. But I don't know. It's just sometimes things happen and there's nothing you can do about it.
Let me ask you this, if you agree with this, because I saw there's an account that I don't follow on Twitter, and I purposefully don't follow it because I think it's a joke account. This person says the Cleveland Guardians are 31-17, slashing 237, 310, 389, 699 as a team. Ben Lively, the Reds starting pitcher last year, is their number 3 and has a 2.84 ERA in 7 games started and 38 innings pitched. First-year manager Stephen Vogt has them balling. You know why? Because he's a good leader. Clean the house. Obviously, this is a Reds account saying, look at the leadership that's been ensued in Cleveland.
By Stephen
Vogt. As if every decision that guy makes isn't based from a computer. But nonetheless, that's the type of stuff where it's like if you look at every team with a winning record right now, you can say, yeah, that manager's doing a good job. Great job.
Skip Schumacher won Manager of the Year last year.
Manager of the Year last
He
year.
doesn't do a thing in Miami.
So that's the part where this manager debate is so tired to me, because if you look at every single losing manager, every single losing team, and say, look, it's their manager's fault, it's probably not accurate. The same way for the Reds, when you lose half the team to injuries or steroids, it's not David Bell's fault. People are saying David Bell's lineups aren't good. We got Jacob Hurtubise, Santiago Espinal, Luke Maile, Connor Capel. Where do you want him to hit? Because that's who he's got. You want Will Benson versus a lefty? He's hitting 110 versus lefties.
And you have no one else that can play center field.
You want Jake Fraley to play against lefties? He can't hit lefties. You don't care about righty-lefty? Well, you should, because it matters. Stuart Fairchild hits above 300 against lefties. And Jacob just mentioned it. He's our star center fielder this season. Can't hit righties, He can't hit lefties. So this is where it's like, how much can you blame David Bell?
I refuse. I know that there's numbers that suggest it. I know that they maybe make the decisions of what the computers, the analytics say, and there's not a whole lot of decision making. But I refuse to have the belief that managers don't matter, because and once again, we're talking about professionals as opposed to very, very low athletics that we all played. But the one thing that I've known for the entire run, yeah, you can't win the Kentucky Derby with donkeys. But every team that I ever played on, directly took the personality of the head coach, whoever was the leader in the locker room, whoever that person was. We took that personality. And there was a direct correlation between winning or losing with those said coaches, depending on, it didn't matter who was on the teams. And I still think that despite all the analytics, all the decision making, all the roster moves being made by someone else, I still think that there is a vital role of a manager at keeping a personality, keeping, if you want to go the Gen Z route, keeping a vibe. And we make fun of Jonathan India for being the leader in the clubhouse. We make fun of Zach Taylor for the kumbaya sessions and stuff like that. But managers matter in the fact that they will directly affect a team and how they play by the way that they conduct themselves. I believe that. And at this point, I've seen now David Bell have 3 different iterations of the Cincinnati Reds that were all good enough to compete at some of a playoff level, and he hasn't gotten there yet. 2020 he did. So that's where I'm just, if there's anything that a manager can provide, it is a spark plug, it is a way that a team can conduct. And I reject the notion, and once again, I don't care if David Bell is here or not, as I think most people in this room don't, but I reject vehemently, I can't pronounce that word, I reject the thought that managers don't matter.
And that's a fair take. And
maybe the decisions, maybe they're not making the decisions, but they definitely matter. There's a reason that Bruce Bochy, 3-time World Series winner, walked into the Texas Rangers and they won the World Series in year 1 there. There's a reason that no matter where Dusty Baker went, he won a lot of games. And there's also a reason that no matter where Dusty Baker went, they couldn't quite get over the hump in the postseason except for that final run in Houston. These things matter.
I think they matter, absolutely. I just think when you look at a team, who matters more, the manager or the players, and it's like 90% of the team's success is based on the team, and maybe 10% is on the manager, 5% is on the manager, 3% is on the manager, and we can keep going low. They matter, but when it comes to the large scale of a team's success, they do not matter that much. I refuse to believe that.
Fair enough.
But to each their own. Everybody, listen, as the Reds season continues to dwindle, the David Bell topic will never go away. Nick Kirby did say in the chat, at this point, he just wants him fired so everybody can shut up. I agree. Please bring in Freddie B. If Freddie B comes on this team and he manages this team even worse to what David Bell was managing it, I want an apology from everybody. I want an apology from the moon and the sun and the stars, because it's just not going to make a difference. Firing him right now will not make a difference. Will not. If you think it's going to bring that spark plug, try it. Let's see it. I'm all for it. If you said right now the Reds are going to make the playoffs if you fire David Bell, hell yeah, fire him. Do it. Send him away. He can go down with Bubba in Double-A, Chattanooga. Maybe he can put on a jersey and play down there too. But right now, it's not David Bell's fault that half the roster is hurt or on steroids.
That's fair.
But we can go back and forth in that debate, and I'm sure we will going forward.
I agree.
But
There's been 11 managers in Cincinnati Reds history that have managed at least 5 seasons for the Reds. 2 of them have had a sub 500 record. You want to guess the 2? David Bell and Brian Price.
yeah, Brian Price was a bad manager.
They don't matter. No such thing.
Brian Price was a bad manager.
No
He was a
such
bad
thing.
leader of men. I think let me rephrase. The hire of Brian Price was bad. I didn't like that hire. But to each their own. And Reds fans will have to live with whatever may come. I just don't think there's much hope left. I'm out of the hope. But that's okay. You can't win them all. And for the Reds, you can't win any. But, life moves on.
Jacob Hurtubise, manager.
Nick is right.
I've hits 3 this week.
Nick, I agree 100%. Freddie Benavides is what this fan base is asking for right now. I promise you. Whatever they think of David Bell, they will think double of Freddie B.
He's more monotone, quieter, less buzz, less of a leader.
So it's like, I get people getting frustrated with the David Bell press conferences. I get frustrated with those too. It's tough after you lose, 3 or you lose 14 to 17. And you look at David Bell and you're like, oh, well, the Reds, we played really hard. We believe this is a good team. We believe this is a great team. This team's going to figure it out. And you can only hear it so many times before it's like, all right, dude, let's just cut the mic. So I get that. I get the frustration, but it's not going to do anything.
David Bell is on the precipice of history.
Really?
Yes. So we were errant in saying that he's going to be the longest tenured manager. The longest tenured manager was Sparky. He was the manager for 9 years for the Reds, so he's got years away from that. What he is close to is having the most ejections. Sparky Anderson in his 9 years got ejected 30 times. David Bell, he will surpass that number this year. Currently sits at 28.
Ooh.
Currently sits at 28.
For a season or just his career?
Career.
Gotcha.
Career.
There's a
so
while there.
what's the over-under on when he surpasses that? He needs 3.
I don't know. If we lose too many more games, he might stop fighting.
Yeah.
Independence Day? July 4th? Is that what we're putting it on?
Yeah.
He'll get thrown out one game in New York for sure, so that's an easy.
Independence Day.
All right. I'll take the under.
Will you?
Under on July 4th for 3 ejections.
Right.
Poor David Bell.
Poor David Bell. You know, he's earned a lot of grace.
I will say this though, like if I talk about how the Reds have been trash for the past 25 years, you do have to mention how David Bell is under David Bell, the Reds have not started well. And that's objectively true. For the past 6 years where he's been the manager, through the first 40 games, they have not had a winning record. So, and the one constant there is David Bell. So,
The roster turnover has been almost every year. He's the only one that's been consistent.
And it's hard to get out of holes.
Right.
When you
True.
start slow.
It's finished top 10 in National League Manager of the Year voting. Reminder, there's 15 managers. He's finished top 10 twice. So, congrats. Last year he was 6th. What was the thing
I hope the Castellinis pay $15 million for a manager next year. I hope they do it.
Get our own Craig Counsell.
Yeah. Bring Dusty back for $25 million.
David Ross. Bring David Ross.
Bring David Ross
Barry.
home. David Ross is making a lot of decisions by himself, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was canned. Canned his ass.
Yeah. Which is so funny because you know they're telling him everything.
Right, correct.
They
Yeah, he
told
was
him
a mouthpiece.
everything.
That's why they fired Joe Madden, is because they were trying to tell Joe Madden things, and Joe Madden was like, no. Also awesome that the Cubs fired the manager that broke the 108-year curse 3 years after he broke it. They're just like, all right, we're done with you. We're done with you. Fickle. It's fickle. It's a lie. Hey, listen, and I think that's part of it. When we talk about managers losing or getting their job, we could argue about how important they are till the cows come home. We do that, and I'm sure we will do that. But at the end of the day, you sign up knowing that you are going to be the blunt of criticism. You are going to be at the spear's edge. But you also get lifted up when your team does well. Like, it's just a two-way street. That's just how it rolls. No one's if the Reds win 100 games, not going to say that David Bell didn't do a good job. It's just how it goes. Just how it is. And you take the job knowing that. You take the job knowing that. And you're paid handsomely. So I don't feel bad for David Bell whatsoever.
I think regardless of where you stand on David Bell, it's kind of a unanimous decision that a 2-year extension after a 12-game win streak last year might not have been the greatest move. I think in hindsight might be 20/20 on that one.
Yeah.
Might have jumped the gun there.
Unless he does it every year.
Unless he does it every year. Unless he does it every year.
Could you imagine if they did it this year?
That would be awesome.
Let's predict when they do it.
Let's find the stretch.
I've got the stretch for
It's
you.
not going to be the stretch.
Is
with
it the
Tigers
Rockies
ahead.
Cubs stretch?
So they're going to play. This is in July. It's the 5th.
It's just not happening.
It's the 5th of July. So they play Detroit 3 times. Then they play Colorado 4 times. That's 7. Then they play Miami 3 times. This is all at home, by the way. Miami 3 times. That's 10 games. You go to the All-Star break, and you have 3 more with the Nationals right after that.
Going to the All-Star break
I
on a
just want
10-game win streak.
to. I just
would
want
get
to
me all
pose
the
a
way
question
back
to
in.
you.
13 in a row.
What makes you think they're sweeping Detroit?
I don't think they win a game. I don't think this happens. But I'm saying this is the
But,
only
like-
chance they have.
Yeah, but Detroit has very good pitching, and you guys have very
Well, yeah.
We're trying to find a stretch here to win 13 games in a row, man.
I want to
bear
say
with
so.
us.
I want to say something, Jimmy, because I don't think you understood the bit of what we were doing here. I'm finding a chance. I'm trying to find a stretch in this schedule where the Reds can win 13 games in a row.
It just
Reed,
happened.
how many games have they won this month?
3.
It can happen against anyone.
When I say it's impossible, it is impossible for it to happen. But if I have to pick, I'm going to pick the city of Detroit, respectfully.
Fair. That's fair.
I'm going to pick the city of Detroit, Colorado at home, and then the 14-win Miami Marlins. That's who I'm going to pick.
That series-
I'm not going to pick Houston or the Mets or Atlanta. I'm looking for a 13-game-in-a-row stretch. And Detroit gives me the best chance at that.
Maybe it'll start after Detroit.
Do you think Cincinnati's had a better history recently than Detroit?
No, Detroit has 2 World Series in my lifetime.
Yeah, but
Detroit's been bad for a long
Detroit's
time.
been bad for a long time.
They had those 2 years, but they've been bad, man.
If you
They have-
gave me
I think
two
they- I
World
think they-
Series appearances for the
I
Reds,
think they have a lower winning percentage since the year 2000. I'm almost certain they do.
They probably do.
but
Reds
I'd
are
trade
bottom-
winning
the-
percentage for 2 World Series appearances.
Well, sure, yeah. I mean, the Royals also
I
have poor winning
think
percentage,
since
but
the
obviously
20
they have that.
since the 20 like they had the early run in the 20 times they had made the World Series in 06, but just like in general.
Now they do have the worst season in MLB history. In 2003, they
Three.
went 43 and 119. But 3 years later, they lost the World Series. They had a run. You ready for this run? Lost in the World Series in lost in the ALCS in 2011. Lost in the World Series in 2012. Lost in the ALCS in 2013, and lost in the ALDS in 2014. Then it's been bad ever since.
Yeah.
Although they have had 2 winning seasons since then. 86 games in 2016. Then it was pretty. Then man, they lost 40. They went 47 and 114 back in 2019.
Yeah, it was bad. But they hired
What's they have the record? What'd you say the record was?
In 2003, they went 43 and 119. And then 3 years later, they went to the World Series.
kind of back to the manager talk though. After the 2013 season when Jim Leland retired, that was like franchise was in a very good spot, and then they hired Brad Ausmus, which everything went downhill after.
Managers don't matter.
Are the Reds winning 24 more games? Break that record?
Yes.
How many months of May do they have?
Hopefully just one.
So if they win 3 games in the month of May, and then we
They
go,
get swept out of May.
yeah, they get swept out.
I think the Reds are going to have a good month, one of the months this summer.
Thanks, Jimmy.
What's the month? What's your prediction?
You circling July.
Yeah, you circle in July. No, because we
July
played
because they'll get a break midway through.
yeah,
There you
well, because no,
Well, in
cause
the 13-game win streak.
yeah, because we played Detroit.
Yeah.
We played Detroit, the city of garbage. But let me see. Let me look through. Yeah, 3. If they go 3 wins here in May, 7 wins in June.
Mike Krause says bring in Bauer to spice things up a little bit.
I agree.
Couldn't agree more.
I agree.
Bauer
Bring in every-
manager?
Huh?
Bauer
Player
manager?
manager.
Could you imagine
That
him
team would have fire.
vlogging during games? I'd love to see a Bauer vlog during his managerial debut.
He's doing PO. You know what he do
Yeah,
against that
PO.
Barstool guy, Marty Mush? And
Yeah.
he's doing the same thing in Shohei. He's just like, I think I'm gonna go backdoor slider, and he throws it and it goes 470 feet. The A's, for some reason, the A's broadcaster's on the call, and she's like, that one's got a chance, and then it splashes in the river.
Brent Rooker.
I threw like 6 strays there.
I love it.
Threw like 6
That was good.
different
You covered all your
strays out
bases.
there.
Yeah.
I love it. That poor A's broadcaster, man. That we do have to play the A's still. That's in August, late
Do
August.
the A's have more wins than the Reds right now?
Oh, I hope
Same.
not.
They're 19-30. We're 19-28.
No.
Oh yeah.
But the Reds have a better broadcaster, so that'll win them a couple.
Do they though? Let me think.
By the way, the A's have the same amount of wins. They have not won in 2 weeks.
Really?
They've lost a week, 8 games.
They've lost 8 in a row.
Yeah,
They went on a heater for a
they were
little
19 and 21. Man, tough sled.
Man, we were 14-10, man.
What could have been?
Times were great. Sun
What was
shining
the
a little brighter.
exact moment that things went bad? Things went wrong. Was there a pinpoint?
It was right after the Phillies series.
Was it that series against the Padres? You won Game 1
Yeah.
on April 30th.
Well, that was the start. Was the
on
Padres.
April 30th.
Everything went downhill when Marte got suspended.
And McLean got hurt.
Hey, man, at 14-10 on April 24th, just beating the Phillies, I was over the moon. Everything was going great.
Got the
injuries
tiebreaker.
weren't going to
Got the
matter.
tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker over a team we were going to be fighting with the wild card
man.
with. Oh, I was over the moon.
Imagine that
So-
tiebreaker means anything.
Since sweeping the Angels April 19th through the 21st, the Reds have not won a series. They're 0-7-1 in their last 8 series. The last time the Reds have won back-to-back games was April 23rd and April 24th versus the Phillies. That's when they hit their mark of 14-10. In the 23 games since, they are 5-18 while being held to 2 runs or fewer 11 times. In one-run games this season, the Reds are 1-11.
Sunday, May 19th's game at Dodger Stadium had a crowd of 53,000. Will the Padres see over 53,000 Cincinnati Redlegs over the next 3 games?
I have something kind of funny to share here
Yeah.
about this little schedule here that Elliot has kept over there. He was keeping track of the wins and the losses of the Reds all the way up until the Phillies. And then he stopped keeping track.
You cursed them.
You cursed them.
No,
Why did
Well,
you
he
keep
won the
track?
tiebreaker.
I think I saw the writing on the wall. It was
Start
gonna-
keeping track again.
No, I don't. Well, okay, let's do it.
The win streak.
Go ahead and
Hold on, there's a lot of L's I got to put in real quick. Hold on. But yeah, listen, no hope, but that's okay. I saw that thing on the Bengals. This is how we'll end the show. I saw the. I sent it to Casey. It wasn't a. You don't have to put it on the screen, but I'm just showing it for myself as I talk through this. Warren Sharp tweeted out the
What
disparity.
does Warren Sharp have to say?
Well, the rest disparity this year is heavily imbalanced. The Bengals are getting screwed, according to Warren, because they are playing 3 road games that are on short weeks. Back-to-back seasons where they've done that, and back-to-back years the Bengals have had the most of those in the NFL. Teams that play in short road weeks, they win 41% of the time, only 41% of the time. So Jacob and I were talking earlier in the or before the show, and it was like probably going to win 1 game out of those 3, and it's the Titans, it's the Ravens, and it's the Panthers. So probably you beat the Panthers, you lose the other 2. But again, the rest disparity, as it were, the Bengals have a negative differential. This is some sort of analytic like WAR or whatever nonsense we use in baseball, but it is interesting to say the Bengals' schedule has not been kind to them the past 2 years.
Well, they've been good too. I mean, besides last year.
They were good last year. They went 9-8 in the hardest schedule ever.
Yeah, but
Fourth place schedule this year.
Fourth place schedule is what
Correct.
not the.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. All right, guys. 6:40. My prediction is Reds 4, Padres 12. That's my prediction.
What a joke! What a joke that was. A silly little joke.
My prediction: Reds 0, Padres 1.
I'm going to
also a
go
great
2-1
joke.
leggers. We'll
Oh,
There we go.
you
There we
going
go.
tonight?
I'm
3-2
going
one
tonight.
night.
I'll never miss a 3-2-1.
There's nothing better than getting 2 beers and 2 hot dogs, and it costs you a grand total of what, $10?
Oh,
$10?
yeah. Even better when you get the fiber optics $20 ticket with $9 voucher on the code. That's 3 beers right there, brother.
Jimmy, prediction on the Reds for a team that you don't watch?
I do watch. I very much dislike Joe Musgrove, so
Known cheater.
I'll go 6-5 Padres.
What's your prediction on Casey Mize versus Alec Marsh tonight? And Kaufman.
Mize has been good. I don't know a ton about Marsh. I think the line's about even. I think we'll probably lose. I think the Royals will probably win. They just hit better than we do. So.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. Casey Rue, you've got a prediction?
Yeah, I'm going to say that this is a win for the Reds. I'm going to say that this is
Let's go.
one of those
Some
one-run
optimism.
games, a lot like what my good friend Jacob said over there. And I'm going to say it's going to be a 4-3 win in the 10th inning. It's going to go to
Ooh,
overtime.
extra.
And they're gonna win.
Sam Maul going to shut down the 10th.
USA Vet has a funny joke.
What'd he
12
say?
runs for the Padres. Is Diaz pitching that inning?
That was a good one. All right, guys, I got nothing else for this show. We will be back tomorrow, and we will see it. We'll have box lunch tomorrow. Chatterbox Reds will be after the conclusion of the Reds win tonight. The Reds win. I'll bring a little positivity. God, I hope they lose. See you guys tomorrow on Off the Bench.